Chapter 187. Even though Jun Haoyan possessed a top-grade magic artifact like the sun-slaying divine bow, however, he didn't possess a single immortal artifact. Even though there was only a single grade of difference between an immortal artifact and a top-grade magic artifact. In reality, the gap between magic artifacts and immortal artifacts was like the gap between the heavens and the earth. Immortal artifacts were different from other treasures. Immortal artifacts were divided into 4 grades. They were respectively immortal spirit artifacts, ancient immortal artifacts, immortal king artifacts, and immortal fiend artifacts. Every single grade was further divided into low, mid, high, and top-grade grades. No matter what, so long as an artifact had the word immortal in it, it would possess shocking might. The might of an immortal artifact exceeded the imagination of ordinary people. An immortal artifact only had to reveal a trace of its aura to casually suppress a Dharma phase realm expert. If it was the strongest immortal fiend artifact, it could even suppress an eternal realm expert. Of course, the precondition was that the person using the immortal artifact had the ability to control it. In short, immortal artifacts were extremely terrifying. Jun Haoyan's strength would probably undergo a terrifying increase if he obtained an immortal artifact. He would probably encounter unprecedented danger during his trip to the Lesser Thunderclap Temple. With this immortal artifact, his ability to protect his life would improve greatly. After that, Jun Haoyan started to study the 6 paths of reincarnation steel. The main function of this immortal artifact was to seal everything in the world. Everything in the world that was enveloped by the 6 paths of reincarnation steel would be sealed by it. The weaker the cultivator, the more miserable they would be suppressed by the 6 paths of reincarnation steel. So long as Jun Haoyan activated the 6 paths of reincarnation steel, cultivators below the Imperial Dao realm would be instantly suppressed to death. Jun Haoyan was extremely excited when he thought up to here, and he directly withdrew the 6 paths of reincarnation steel. In an instant, peerless immortal might envelop the entire space. The 6 paths of reincarnation steel was divided into 6 divine steels. The 6 divine steels had different effects as well. The first represented the immortal Tao and it could seal the body. The second represented the human Tao and it could seal energy. The third represented the hell Tao and it could seal the soul. The fourth represented the beast Tao and it could seal the soul. The fifth represented the Azura Tao and it could seal magic treasures. The sixth represented the Wraith realm, which could seal divine abilities. Moreover, each steel was comparable to a middle-grade immortal spiritual artifact. If they were put together, it was a high-grade ancient immortal artifact, the 6 paths of reincarnation steel. A satisfied smile appeared on Jun Haoyan's face as he looked at the divine steel in his hand. With this ancient immortal artifact, the trip to the small Thunderclap Temple would be very safe. As far as he knew, among the 3 great Buddhist sects of the Western Desert, there were 3 great Buddhist sections. Only the strongest Little Thunderclap Temple had a supreme martial artist. The other 2 great Buddhist powers had never produced a supreme being. The strongest existence that appeared was only a Saint King. However, everyone knew that the 3 major Buddhist sects of the Western Desert had always been united. Furthermore, their cultivation methods were extremely similar. This made the Western Desert Buddhists extremely difficult to deal with. However, Jun Haoyan now possessed the steel of 6 paths of reincarnation. As long as he exerted his full strength, not to mention the peerless experts of the immortal longevity realm. Even though he had stepped into the 5th level of the immortal realm, the undead realm experts couldn't kill him. This wasn't arrogance. This was Jun Haoyan's confidence after possessing the steel of 6 paths of reincarnation. Of course, if the other party was a little stronger, Jun Haoyan wouldn't be able to withstand it. An existence of the Emperor realm couldn't be fought with the help of an immortal artifact. However, with Jun Haoyan's current strength, he couldn't rampage on the martial god continent. As long as the peerless existences that weren't at the level of old antiques appeared, no one would be able to suppress him. Therefore, Jun Haoyan was extremely confident in this trip to the small Thunderclap Temple. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan put away the steel of 6 paths of reincarnation. He looked at the other reward of the system, the Gate of Heaven and Earth. After Jun Haoyan understood the Gate of Heaven and Earth, he was a little surprised. To think that the Gate of Heaven and Earth was merely an unparalleled mystique. This not only surprised him a little. With his current strength, a supreme divine ability didn't have much effect on him. However, when Jun Haoyan thoroughly understood this divine ability, he realized how extraordinary this divine ability was. Although this Gate of Heaven and Earth was only a supreme divine ability. But in fact, this was a terrifying divine ability that could continuously become stronger according to one's strength. In the hands of a weak person, it might only be an ordinary supreme divine ability. But in the hands of an expert, it could be comparable to a supreme emperor technique. Moreover, this divine ability had a heaven-defying power when cultivated to a high level. More importantly, when one's cultivation reached a certain level, the gate of heaven and earth would be suspended above one's head. Even the attack of a supreme emperor technique could be blocked outside. It could reach the true impenetrability, no matter what kind of heaven-defying divine ability the enemy used. Under the gate of heaven and earth, there was nothing they could do. As long as Jun Haoyin used the gate of heaven and earth as the foundation, even the attack of an emperor technique could be unscathed. Of course, any divine ability had its drawbacks. And the gate of heaven and earth was no exception. The gate of heaven and earth could only maintain immunity for a certain period of time. During this period of time, it could be impenetrable. Moreover, every time the gate of heaven and earth was used, it could only be used again after a certain period of time. In addition, if the enemy's strength was much higher than Jun Haoyin's, the gate of heaven and earth would lose its immunity effect. For example, a true energy realm martial artist couldn't use the gate of heaven and earth to block the attack of an immortal realm martial artist. No matter how powerful a divine ability was, one had to have the strength to match it. Moreover, the gate of heaven and earth was of great significance to Jun Haoyin. This was because the most important part of the cauldron nourishment that he created was to withstand the attacks of various divine abilities. Although Jun Haoyin's physical body was extremely strong, he couldn't completely ignore the attack of a genius like Prince Jiao. But now that Jun Haoyin had cultivated the mystic skill, the gate of heaven and earth, things were different. Now, with the gate of heaven and earth above his head, he could directly ignore the attack of someone like Prince Jiao. In other words, as long as the person's strength was not higher than Jun Haoyin's, no matter how exquisite the attack was, it wouldn't be able to touch Jun Haoyin at all. This was where the power of this sacred art lay, and it was also what Jun Haoyin needed. After that, Jun Haoyin spent another day to properly comprehend this supreme divine ability. A day later, the heaven and earth isolation array formed by 3,000 divine feathers around Jun Haoyin had completely disappeared. The aura here had once again become one with heaven and earth. Now it was time for Jun Haoyin to leave. Looking at the void, Jun Haoyin identified the direction. Buzz. Then a pair of shining wings appeared, overflowing with light, like a dream. With a thought, the divine wings of liberty on Jun Haoyin's back vibrated slightly. Boom. The sound of something tearing through the air rang out. This pair of wings seemed to be cutting through space. When Jun Haoyin appeared again, he was already tens of thousands of miles away. This speed was simply incomparably terrifying. However, even with the divine wings of liberty, Jun Haoyin would need at least 2 to 3 days to reach the small Lane temple. The martial god continent was simply too big. It was vast and boundless. Just the eastern wilderness alone was billions of miles wide. Not to mention the western desert in another region. But all this was nothing to Jun Haoyin. He flapped his divine wings of freedom once more and disappeared from the void. At this moment, Jun Haoyin only had one goal. The western desert. The small Lane temple. Chapter 2. Conspiracy. Just as Jun Haoyin was about to head to the western desert, on the martial god continent, an earth-shattering piece of news began to spread throughout the entire continent. Prince Jiao, the Fox Prince, the Azure Dragon Empire's Crown Prince, the Third Prince, the Black Tortoise Empire's Ping Shi Huang, and several experts from the 3 Holy Lands. These people had all died at the hands of the Holy Son of Great Heaven. The massacre that Jun Haoyin had caused in the desolate suspended sea was exposed. At first, this news only spread in a small circle. But it was not long before it was confirmed. For a moment, the entire martial god continent was in a state of shock. Countless people gathered together and discussed this matter. At the same time, the southern borders demon race, Luotian Holy Land, Qingyun Holy Land, and Yaoguang Holy Land. These 4 terrifying top forces were all enraged because of this matter. There were even rumors that the 3 holy lords of the 3 holy lands of eastern wilderness had secretly joined forces. Originally, the 3 Holy Lands had an irreconcilable enmity with the Langya Holy Land and the Holy Son of Great Heaven. But now, the experts that the 3 Holy Lands had sent to the Linglong Holy Lord's birthday had died at the hands of the Holy Son of Great Heaven. The Holy Son of Great Heaven's action was not taking the 3 Holy Lands seriously at all. It was a blatant slap to the faces of the 3 Holy Lands. The entire eastern wilderness was once again in an uproar because of this matter. However, there were also rumors. The reason for this battle in the desolate suspended sea was that Prince Jiao had tried to kill the Holy Son of Great Heaven. In the end, they were killed by the Holy Son of Great Heaven. They had only themselves to blame for their deaths. However, this rumor was quickly suppressed by an unknown force. As for what exactly happened in the desolate suspended sea, no one knew. The uproar in the eastern wilderness was quickly quelled. Because of the alliance of the three holy lords, the entire eastern wilderness was extremely quiet. It was so quiet that it was somewhat frightening. Compared to the eastern wilderness, the Azure Dragon Empire in the central region was still unable to calm down. Soon a new rumor was spread to the world. The Azure Dragon Empire had a new crown prince. The four ancient empires were different from the human Holy Lands. The powers within them were intricate and complicated, and the human emperor held the power of life and death. The various princes and ministers divided the power of the empires. Now Jun Haoyan had killed the crown prince of the Azure Dragon Empire, Long Tianjue. This naturally gave the other princes a chance to ascend the throne. Therefore, during this period of time, the Azure Dragon Empire was turbulent and unstable. At the same time, in the 100,000 mountains of the southern region, in a domineering hall filled with demonic aura, Demon King Jiao and Demon King Fairy Fox were sitting in the hall and talking. At this moment, the two demon kings looked indifferent and dignified. The overwhelming aura from the two demon kings made one's heart tremble. The surrounding mountains looked as if they were about to collapse under this aura. "Are you sure that the Holy Son of Great Heaven did this?" Demon King Jiao suddenly asked in the hall. At this moment he was wearing a golden battle robe. His body was tall and straight, and a strong and domineering aura arose spontaneously. Especially when he heard that Prince Jiao had died in Jun Haoyan's hands, his golden eyes flashed with endless coldness. "It's absolutely true. This matter is definitely not fake," Demon King Fairy Fox said firmly. Her expression was solemn. Just like what Prince Jiao had said that day as long as he was dead. The news of Jun Haoyan killing them would spread throughout the martial god continent. Not only the eastern wilderness, but even the southern region would receive the news immediately. After receiving this news, Demon King Fairy Fox sent her subordinates to the desolate suspended sea to investigate. In the end, they found that there had indeed been a great battle. Moreover, the aura of Prince Jiao and Demon Fox Prince was still lingering at the scene. Although they did not know the exact details of what had happened. According to the information they received, only the Holy Son of Great Heaven was still alive in this world. Therefore, only the Holy Son of Great Heaven had the right to kill everyone. Hearing this, Demon King Jiao's face instantly became incomparably gloomy. As the #1 prodigy of the demon clan, Prince Jiao's talent was unparalleled. He was also the most outstanding son of Demon King Jiao. But now, he had died in the hands of the Holy Son of Langia's sacred ground. This debt. No matter what, he had to settle it. Langia's sacred ground, Holy Son of Great Heaven, we're not done with this matter. Demon King Jiao said coldly with a murderous aura. Waves of terrifying golden true essence swept around his body. At this moment, Demon King Jiao was undoubtedly on the verge of exploding. At the same time, Demon King Jiao also knew in his heart. Although Prince Jiao had died in the hands of the Holy Son of Great Heaven. But this was still a battle between the younger generation. If he interfered, the Langia sacred ground would not let the matter rest. A human sacred ground was a power that could not be ignored. Unless he could gather all the 9-headed divine flood dragons on the divine monster continent. But then the price he would have to pay would be great. If the Langia sacred ground fought to the death and took out their supreme artifact, then no one would benefit. Demon King Fairy Fox, who was also a giant of the demon clan, had naturally considered this point. A Holy Son of Great Heaven might not be much in their eyes. But a behemoth like the Langia sacred ground could not be ignored. A terrifying force with a supreme artifact's foundation was considered top-notch even in the Trichiliacosm. If such a force went all out, any force would have a headache. Your Majesty, the Alcade Sacred Leader, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader, and the Daluo Sacred Leader are here to visit. At this moment, the voice of a demon clan general came from outside the hall. Demon King Jiao and Demon King Fairy Fox immediately stood up and looked at each other. What were the three sacred leaders doing here? However, they soon thought of the reason. These three sacred grounds could be said to have become enemies with the Langia sacred ground. The Holy Son of the three sacred grounds had also died in the hands of the Holy Son of Great Heaven. Invite him in, Demon King Jiao hurriedly said. Next, the three sacred leaders walked into the 100,000 mountains of southern border and quietly met with the two heaven masters of the demon clan. And no one knew about this matter. Even the various sacred grounds and dynasties had not heard of it. This time the meeting. It was a complete secret. As for what agreement the two sides had reached, no one knew. However, not long after that, an extremely secret news began to spread on the Wuxian continent. The Holy Son of Great Heaven had already become a demon. At first, this rumor only spread in a few small cities. Of course, not many people believed it. Becoming a demon. This was a very serious and sensational topic. In ancient times, the demon clan and the human clan were irreconcilable. There were countless battles between the two sides, and there were countless casualties. At the most serious time, the Wuxian continent was almost occupied by the demon clan. Countless ancestors of the human clan died because of the war with the demon clan. Therefore, once a human became a demon and cultivated the demon Dao's divine ability, he was no longer a human. He was a demon. There was once a great sect that was destroyed because its last sect master had become a demon. Becoming a demon. This situation was strictly forbidden, whether it was in the human clan or the demon clan. Once discovered, they would eliminate the demon and defend the Dao. That was because this was an edict issued by the divine realm after the ancient war. It was not only in the Wuxian continent. The entire Trichilia Cosm followed this rule. This rumor was very deadly. However, it was only circulated in a very small number of places. However, if someone wanted to check it out, the rumor that the Holy Son of Great Heaven had become a demon was slowly spreading. However, at this moment, no one cared so much. At the same time, in a vast hall, Jun Haoyin's face was filled with surprise. Around him, every place was flowing with light. Even the grass and trees seemed to be filled with vitality. The surrounding heaven and earth were incomparably calm. All kinds of seven-colored auspicious clouds gathered in the void all year round. It looked dreamy and dazzling. As for the hall in front of Jun Haoyin, it was layered, although it was not tall. However, the power that it revealed made him feel shocked. Especially the hall in the center, it emitted seven-colored divine radiance. Standing in front of these great palaces, Jun Haoyin could even faintly hear the chanting of scriptures. That's right. The hall in front of him. It was one of the three major Buddhist forces of the Western Desert. Little Thunder Temple. Chapter 188. To be honest, the small Lane temple before him was different from what Jun Haoyin had imagined. In Jun Haoyin's impression, the small Lane temple was the head of the three major Buddhist sects in the Western Desert. It had always been mysterious to the outside world. It was like a bottomless sea with no bottom in sight. However, the small Lane temple before Jun Haoyin's eyes was nothing more than that. The small Lane temple before him was built on an ordinary hill that was not very tall. Although the main hall looked magnificent, it lacked a mysterious aura. It was like a palace in the mortal world. It was a little tacky. Moreover, all the buildings here were built on the ground. There was no sense of mystery at all. However, after standing outside the small Lane temple and observing for a while, Jun Haoyin discovered something special about the small Lane temple. He had not yet entered the small Lane temple, but he could already feel a sense of calmness in his heart. This was what the small Lane temple gave him. It was as if he could calm himself just by looking at the small Lane temple from afar. Other than the occasional Buddhist light, it also gave off a sense of tranquility. Jun Haoyin did not find anything out of the ordinary in the small Lane temple. It was just like a temple in the mortal world. However, the more ordinary the small Lane temple appeared, the more cautious Jun Haoyin became. How could a Buddhist sect that was feared by the entire Wuxian continent be so simple? However, since he was already at the entrance of the small Lane temple, Jun Haoyin had no intention of backing down. Only by entering the small Lane temple could he obtain information about Jun Moyo. At this thought, Jun Haoyin's expression became calm. Then he slowly stepped into the small Lane temple. The moment Jun Haoyin stepped into the small Lane temple, a strange feeling engulfed Jun Haoyin's entire body. It was a very strange feeling that carried a special power. At the same time, Jun Haoyin sensed that everything had changed. In his ears, there was the sound of scriptures being chanted. This voice was like a wave, echoing in his mind one after another. Even though Jun Haoyin could block these voices strangely surged into his mind again. Jun Haoyin naturally sensed the abnormality. His expression turned ugly as he snorted coldly. He directly circulated his true essence to cover his entire body. At this time, the strange sounds around him disappeared. Even so, Jun Haoyin still had that strange feeling in the void. I knew it. This small thunder temple is not as simple as it looks. Jun Haoyin thought to himself and became even more cautious. Then he looked at the palace in front of him and slowly walked over. On the way, Jun Haoyin discovered many acolytes as well as some ascetic monks with powerful auras. There were even some monks who found a random spot and began debating Buddhist principles. Here Jun Haoyan saw a world of Buddhist cultivators. Everyone here was expounding on Buddhist principles, and the topics they discussed were all related to Buddhism. Furthermore, Jun Haoyan also discovered quite a number of martial artists. These martial artists were dressed differently from the Buddhist disciples. They were dressed similarly to the Eastern Wilderness and Central Plains. Before coming to the Small Thunder Temple, Jun Haoyan had learned about it. Among the Buddhist forces, there were many lay disciples who practiced martial arts. Although these people did not fully join the Buddhist sects, their faith was Buddhism. At this moment, Jun Haoyan saw many martial artists kneeling and kowtowing to the Buddha statue in the main hall. Some of them walked barefoot like the ascetic monks, and some even knelt in front of the Buddha statue, unwilling to get up. These people were all putting their palms together and muttering something. The scene in front of him did not seem to be from Yichang, and it even seemed peaceful and beautiful. However, for some reason Jun Haoyan felt very uncomfortable. Soon Jun Haoyan arrived at the main hall of the Small Thunder Temple. As the main hall, the decorations here were even more magnificent, and there were even rays of light shining. The Small Thunder Temple stood among the mountains. To reach the inner part, one had to pass through a stairway. Regarding this, Jun Haoyan had some understanding before coming here. This stairway was called the Stairway to Nirvana in the Buddhist sects. To enter the main hall of the Small Thunder Temple, one had to walk up step by step. No matter who it was, they were not allowed to fly up. It was as if they had crossed the sea of suffering and reached the other side. Standing at the bottom of the stairway, Jun Haoyan looked at the stairway. The stairway in front of him was very tall, with a total of 999 steps. On both sides of the stairway there were many monks standing. At this moment they were expressionless, and their heads were lowered as they chanted something seriously. Standing at the bottom, Jun Haoyan looked at the main hall of the Small Thunder Temple above him. The entire main hall of the Small Thunder Temple was covered with layers of Buddhist light, as if it was a paradise. Beside the main hall, there were 9 other halls which set off the atmosphere. Sanskrit chants and ancient bells rang, making one feel relaxed and happy. A mysterious force surrounded his body, making him want to convert to Buddhism at all times. Jun Haoyan stood at the bottom of the Stairway to Nirvana and looked up at the plaque above the main hall. Small Thunder Temple. This was the legendary Small Thunder Temple, one of the 3 major Buddhist sects in the Western Desert. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan did not hesitate and stepped onto the Stairway to Nirvana. At this moment, the monks around him stopped chanting. They looked up and saw a person walking out of the main hall of the Small Thunder Temple. "Greetings, Senior Xuanzang." "Greetings, Senior Xuanzang." Seeing the person who walked in, all the monks at the scene greeted him. They looked down and put their palms together. The person who walked down was the chief disciple of the Small Thunder Temple, Divine Monk Xuanzang. "Holy Son of Haoyan." Seeing Jun Haoyan, Divine Monk Xuanzang hurried down. Even a chief disciple like him did not dare to disobey the rules of the Stairway to Nirvana. Jun Haoyan looked at Divine Monk Xuanzang in front of him and nodded slightly. "Greetings, Master Xuanzang." Seeing this, Divine Monk Xuanzang smiled. "Holy Son of Haoyan, I knew you would come to the Small Thunder Temple." Xuanzang's voice was filled with joy and confidence. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan only smiled. His aura was otherworldly. What was there to be unhappy about? "Holy Son of Haoyan, please follow me." Divine Monk Xuanzang invited Jun Haoyan. Then Divine Monk Xuanzang took the lead and stepped onto the stairway. When the surrounding monks and warriors saw this scene, they immediately whispered to each other. "Who is this person? Why is Senior Xuanzang welcoming him personally? Didn't Senior Xuanzang just say it? Holy Son of Haoyan. Oh, so he's the Holy Son of Haoyan. Senior Xuanzang went to Eastern Wilderness some time ago. Could it be because of him? It's him? The Holy Son of Haoyan, who is said to be the most powerful person in Eastern Wilderness?" After realizing Jun Haoyan's identity, everyone was shocked and their expressions were filled with disbelief. Although these people had converted to Buddhism, there were too many distracting thoughts in their minds. It was impossible for them to achieve enlightenment. They also had 7 emotions and 6 desires. When they saw someone like Jun Haoyan, they were curious and in awe. Otherwise, if they had achieved enlightenment in Buddhism, they would not be sitting here. "I heard that the abbot personally invited the Holy Son of Haoyan, but I don't know why." Someone spoke again. The Holy Son of Haoyan had an extremely high status. He was the future ruler of a sacred ground. Such a person. Even the Small Thunder Temple would not let their guard down. In fact, even they did not know why the abbot invited Jun Haoyan here. Thinking of this, the people present shook their heads and once again calmed down and started chanting. On the other side, Jun Haoyin and Divine Monk Xuanzang had already ascended the main hall. However, they did not enter the main hall. Instead, Jun Haoyin was led by Xuanzang to a side hall. Obviously this was for Jun Haoyin to rest. The holy son of Haoyin has come from afar. You're an honored guest. Please rest for a while. Divine Monk Xuanzang said with a smile. He looked very calm and polite. No one could find fault with him. However, Jun Haoyin stood still and said without a change in his expression. Divine Monk, I'm sure you know why I'm here at the Small Thunder Temple. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, I'm sure you know why I'm here at the Small Thunder Temple? Looking at Divine Monk Xuanzang, Jun Haoyin said with a calm expression. At the same time, Jun Haoyin revealed an extremely shocking aura. Just by standing there, Jun Haoyin gave off an extremely powerful aura. Even a cultivator at the peak of the Imperial Dao realm would feel a trace of pressure from him. As the head disciple of the Small Thunder Temple, Divine Monk Xuanzang was naturally very strong. His status was comparable to the Holy Son of the Eastern Wilderness. However, Jun Haoyin's cultivation had already reached the Dharma Idol realm. He was much stronger than Divine Monk Xuanzang, so Divine Monk Xuanzang naturally felt a sense of danger. In order to get news of Jun Moyo as soon as possible, Jun Haoyin did not care about anything else. He directly exposed his cultivation base. The Small Thunder Temple definitely knew about Jun Moyo, but they arranged for him to rest first. This was clearly an attempt to delay him and prevent him from finding out more about Jun Moyo's matters. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin did not care about anything else and directly exploded. When Divine Monk Xuanzang heard Jun Haoyin's words and sensed the aura that erupted from Jun Haoyin, he lowered his head and pondered. Supreme Monk Xuanzang naturally understood the meaning behind Jun Haoyin's words. Although Divine Monk Xuanzang was a little surprised by Jun Haoyin's sudden outburst, he was not very surprised. Jun Haoyin's shocking feat in the desolate suspended sea naturally spread to the western desert. Divine Monk Xuanzang naturally knew how strong this guy was. If Jun Haoyin caused trouble, it would definitely be difficult to end it. Divine Monk Xuanzang put his palms together and slowly spoke. Holy Son of Haoyin, please don't be anxious. I know a thing or two about what you're talking about. However, the abbot has ordered that if you want to get the answer, Holy Son of Haoyin, you have to pass the test. Divine Monk Xian Pin's tone had always been very modest, neither warm nor impatient. He was very polite. Since Divine Monk Xuanzang had made the request, Jun Haoyin naturally could not get angry. Before coming to the Small Thunder Temple, he was already prepared to face all kinds of difficulties. Therefore, Jun Haoyin directly said to Divine Monk Xuanzang in front of him, "What test do I have to pass? Please tell me. I really want to know where my sister is." In order to find out Jun Moyo's whereabouts, Jun Haoyin forcefully suppressed the irritation in his heart, and his attitude was very polite. Now that Jun Moyo was nowhere to be found, he did not want to implicate Jun Moyo because of himself. Since Holy Son of Haoyin is so anxious, I'll tell you the truth. Holy Son, if you want to get the answer you want, you have to go to the last hall of the debate hall. The abbot will be waiting for you there. Divine Monk Xuanzang spoke slowly with a solemn look on his face. Upon hearing Divine Monk Xuanzang's words, Jun Haoyin frowned. The last hall of the debate hall. Before coming to the Small Thunder Temple, he already knew a lot about the Small Thunder Temple. As one of the three major forces of Buddhism, the Small Thunder Temple's mission has always been to answer the questions of the masses. To guide others to do good and convert to Buddhism. The debate hall was a place to ask people about their troubles and obtain the answers. It was just like how in the mortal world, when mortals had doubts, they would seek guidance from senior monks. The debate hall had the same effect. Moreover, it was rumored that the questions of the Holy Son of the seven sacred grounds of the human race were asked in the debate hall. Almost all of them came from Buddhism. The debate hall's test did not test one's strength or cultivation. It was straight to the heart. Even though many people did not dislike Buddhism, they had to admit it. Buddhism had always advocated great principles and great wisdom. There were still many principles behind it. The rules to pass the debate hall were simple. 9 answers and 9 questions. When Jun Haoyin entered the debate hall, the Buddhist elders inside would ask him questions. After one question and an answer, the person who entered the debate hall could also ask a question in return. With 9 answers and 9 questions, a correct answer would count as passing a level. If the senior monk or elder inside could not answer the question, he would also pass a level. If the senior monk or elder answered correctly, Jun Haoyin would have to remain on the spot. And that would be the end of the debate hall. Every time he answered a question, he had to complete it within 5 minutes. If he exceeded the time limit, it would be considered a wrong answer and the debate hall would end immediately. Jun Haoyin already knew about these rules before coming to the Small Thunder Temple. After all, the Small Thunder Temple was a Buddhist faction. Before entering, Jun Haoyin naturally had to study it properly. The abbot of the Small Thunder Temple wanted him to pass the debate hall before he was willing to meet him. Jun Haoyin had no idea what the purpose of that was. However, he did not care about that. Master, according to you, as long as I pass the debate hall's test, I can meet the abbot and ask him for answers? Jun Haoyin asked slowly as he looked at Xuanzang. Xuanzang nodded and said, "That's right. However, I hope that the Holy Sun can rest for a day and challenge the debate hall tomorrow." Xuanzang tried to persuade Jun Haoyin again. He felt helpless. The Holy Sun of Haoyin was as strong as the rumors said. Even in the Western Desert, his attitude was still the same. "Thank you for your kind intentions, Master. However, I don't think it's necessary. Please bring me to the debate hall directly." However, Jun Haoyin could not wait any longer and requested again. Xuanzang felt helpless and tried to persuade him again. "Holy Son of Haoyin, the debate hall's test will consume a lot of your energy. It's better for you to rest for a night." Divine Monk Xuanzang had good intentions and Jun Haoyin could naturally see that. However, Jun Haoyin did not mind and shook his head. "Sigh, Holy Son of Haoyin, please." Seeing this, Xuanzang sighed and brought Jun Haoyin to the debate hall. Jun Haoyin's eyes shone with a strange light as he looked at Xuanzang's back. He did not know what the Small Lane Temple was planning. However, as long as they did not reveal their hostility, he could maintain a friendly relationship with them. However, if the Small Lane Temple wanted to harm him, he would not care about their feelings. At this moment, Feng Xiaoyao and the rest must have arrived at the Langya sacred ground. They must have revealed his whereabouts to the Holy Lord of Langya and Tao Xian. Jun Haoyin believed that with the strength of the Langya sacred ground, it should not be a problem to suppress the Small Lane Temple that did not have a supreme weapon. At the same time, in the main hall of the Small Lane Temple, 3 old monks sat cross-legged on futons. They were wearing linen robes and kasayas. Their bodies were haggard and they looked old. It was as if they would die at any moment. "Senior brother Fa Hai, are you sure that this Holy Son of Haoyin is the person we are looking for?" At this moment an old monk spoke slowly. His teeth were almost all gone and his skin was dry and weak. However, the 3 dazzling Buddhist lights behind his head were frightening. 3 layers of Buddha lights meant that this monk had an extremely high status in Buddhism. It was rumored that in Buddhism, having 9 layers of Buddha lights would allow one to attain the position of Buddha. As for Buddhas, they were at least equivalent to the Saint King realm. The monk in front of them was at least at the immortal creator realm. However, there was a monk in linen robes beside him. There were 5 layers of Buddha lights behind his head. In the entire Western Desert, this person had an extremely high status. Only the abbot of the Diamond Temple of the Shenkong Temple could be compared to him. This person was the abbot of the Small Lane Temple, Divine Monk Fa Hai. Chapter 189. The abbot of the Small Lane Temple, Divine Monk Fa Hai, was considered an ancient existence. He had become famous 10,000 years ago, even earlier than Linglong Saint. Back then, Divine Monk Fa Hai had fought with a supreme snake demon in the Divine Monster Continent and suppressed him under the forbidden area of the Small Lane Temple. That battle had shown the strength of the Western Desert Buddhist sect to the world. As the strongest existence in the Western Desert, Divine Monk Fa Hai had cultivated for countless years. 10,000 years ago, Divine Monk Fa Hai had already become the strongest in the Western Desert. At that moment, 5 rays of Buddhist light appeared behind Divine Monk Fa Hai's head. This meant that he already possessed the most terrifying strength in the immortal realm. Just one more step and he would be able to enter the legendary Emperor realm. No one could see through Divine Monk Fa Hai's strength and the depth of his Buddhist doctrine. At that moment, Divine Monk Fa Hai looked extremely old and his body was emitting Buddhist light. To outsiders, Divine Monk Fa Hai's flesh and blood were close to drying up. It was as if his life force was about to disappear. Naturally, this did not mean that Divine Monk Fa Hai was about to die. When a martial artist reached the immortal realm, his strength would undoubtedly be invincible. How could he die so easily? At that moment, Divine Monk Fa Hai sat cross-legged on an ancient futon without any change in his expression. That pair of turbid eyes revealed shocking wisdom. With just a glance, others could comprehend the truth of life. Beside Divine Monk Fa Hai sat the 2 divine monks, Dharma Tian and Dharma Di. These two divine monks were from the same era as Divine Monk Fa Hai. At the same time, they were Divine Monk Fa Hai's junior brother. When Divine Monk Fa Hai heard Dharma Tian's words, a smile appeared on his old face. This person might surprise us. His understanding of Taoism is unprecedented. I'm sure that the Holy Son of Hao Tian is the person we're looking for. Divine Monk Fa Hai said slowly, and his tone was very certain. Dharma Tian and Dharma Di nodded when they heard him. However, when they thought of Jun Haoyan's identity, they frowned again. Even if the Holy Son of Hao Tian was the person they were looking for. However, the Holy Son of Hao Tian's identity was difficult to deal with. After all, he was the only Holy Son of the Langya Holy Land. If this matter was not dealt with properly, it would cause a lot of trouble. This penniless monk naturally understands your worries. Don't worry, this penniless monk has his ways. Looking at their expressions, Divine Monk Fa Hai slowly opened his mouth. His originally aged face seemed to have aged even more. Divine Monk Fa Hai's turbid eyes flickered with endless wisdom as he said, "As for how we should deal with him, it still depends on his performance in the Hall of Debate." Dharma Dharma and Dharma Dharma nodded their heads in agreement. Not bad. Compared to the small Thunder Temple's Hall of Debate, Langya's heart examination was just the beginning. This was the real test. It would only begin after entering the debate hall. After that, the three divine monks slowly closed their eyes and chanted scriptures. He seemed to be waiting for something. Compared to the outside of the small Thunderclap Temple, the inside of the temple was undoubtedly much quieter. There was also no strange Buddhist voice. However, inside the small Thunderclap Temple, there were also many monks coming and going. When these monks saw Divine Monk Xuanzang, they clasped their palms together to show their respect. After all, Divine Monk Xuanzang was the first disciple of the small Thunderclap Temple. His status was equivalent to Jun Haoyan's status in the Langya sacred ground. Following behind Divine Monk Xuanzang, Jun Haoyan was soon brought to the debate hall. Within the debate hall was a gigantic oval-shaped room with various Buddha statues around it. Each of the Buddha statues had a golden body that was 6 feet tall, and their bodies emitted an endless amount of Buddhist light. A single glance was enough to make one feel reverence. There were many futons placed in front of the Buddha statues. At that moment, there were many monks sitting on those futons with their legs crossed. Their eyes were closed and they were chanting softly. Could these people be here for the debate hall's test as well? Jun Haoyan guessed when he saw that. In the middle of the hall, a monk stood with a contemplative look in his eyes. In front of the monk, there was a burning Buddhist incense that was burning slowly. At the sight of that, Jun Haoyan's mind was filled with thoughts. Usually, there would be some monks in the small Thunderclap Temple that would answer the questions of those who entered the debate hall. Otherwise, if someone from the outside world came to the debate hall and achieved decent results, they would be rewarded by the small Thunderclap Temple. Compared to other factions, the cultivation method of the Buddhist monasteries had always been different. At that moment, the monk standing in the middle of the hall should be the one who came to the debate hall. Furthermore, he should have encountered a difficult question and could not answer it. This was only the first test and he was stumped already. There were 4 doors around the debate hall where monks gathered in 2s and 3s. The debate hall was open and aboveboard. Furthermore, the questions were different every single time. Therefore, others could be allowed to watch. Biak. Right then, the sound of something tearing through the air sounded. The monk standing in the debate hall felt as though he was struck by lightning. A streak of blood appeared on his back. He was whipped. The time has passed and the debate hall was not successful. You have failed the first test. In the debate hall, an old monk announced. Looking at the old monk, Jun Haoyan's eyes narrowed. The old monk was very powerful and was at least an expert of the immortal realm. Compared to other factions, the Western Desert Buddhist monasteries did not have any supremes. However, the Buddhist monasteries had a rich foundation. Taking the number of immortal realm experts as an example, the small Thunderclap Temple would definitely not lose to a certain sacred ground or ancient dynasty. Looking at the monk who was being whipped, Jun Haoyan's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. He had answered wrongly and was being whipped by an immortal realm expert. This is the rule of the debate hall. As long as you fail the debate hall, you will be punished with whipping. However, as long as you successfully pass the 3rd test, you will be able to get rid of the punishment of whipping. Divine Monk Xuanzang seemed to have noticed the doubt in Jun Haoyan's eyes and began to explain. Hearing that, Jun Haoyan finally understood and nodded. However, an uncomfortable feeling arose in his heart. The whip of an immortal realm expert was not a joke. It would tear his skin and flesh apart. Moreover, it was an immortal realm expert. There was no way he could avoid it. As the saying of the Buddhist monasteries, compassion was the foundation of one's heart. From the looks of it, the Buddhist monasteries were the most ruthless existence. Jun Haoyin was naturally wary of being whipped by an immortal realm expert. However, at the thought of the purpose of his trip, Jun Haoyin eventually took a deep breath. Divine Monk Xuanzang, don't forget what you said. As long as I pass the debate hall, the host has to meet me. Looking at Divine Monk Xuanzang, Jun Haoyin said in an extremely serious tone. Holy Son, please be assured. A monk does not lie. What I said is true. Divine Monk Xuanzang placed his palms together and his attitude was extremely solemn. Hearing that, Jun Haoyin nodded and stepped into the debate hall without hesitation. The moment he stepped into the debate hall, the Lesser Lane Monastery shouted, "The Holy Son of Langya, the current Holy Son Hao Tian, is here to answer the debate hall." As soon as Jun Haoyin's voice sounded, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. It wasn't just the examinees. Even the eminent monks in the debate hall looked at Jun Haoyin. At the same time, many monks walked out from other places and looked at Jun Haoyin. Hao Tian, the Holy Son of Langya. Why is he here at the Lesser Lane Monastery? I don't know. I heard that the abbot asked senior brother Xuanzang to invite him personally. Is that true? Do all the Sky Prides like to challenge the debate hall? Didn't the Holy Son of Kunlun come here a few years ago? The Holy Son of Kunlun is the #1 Sky Pride of Eastern Wilderness. During the debate hall, he passed 12 stages consecutively. That's right. That's the best result an outsider has ever achieved in the debate hall. At that moment, the surrounding onlookers started to discuss. Hearing this, Jun Haoyin couldn't help but be surprised. He didn't expect the Holy Son of Kunlun to have come to Jun Haoyin before. Moreover, he had also challenged the debate hall. The debate hall begins. However, just as Jun Haoyin was thinking, a voice came from the debate hall. In the debate hall, all living beings were equal. Even the Holy Son of Haoyin was treated equally. In front of Jun Haoyin, a stick of Buddhist incense was lit in a bronze cauldron. The incense would burn for about 15 minutes. If he couldn't answer within 15 minutes, it would be considered a failure. If he succeeded, the Buddhist incense would be extinguished and he would pass. Soon, an eminent monk sitting cross-legged in front of Jun Haoyin opened his eyes. His eyes shone with wisdom from time to time. He glanced at Jun Haoyin and asked his first question. May I ask, Holy Son of Haoyin, what are the 8 distresses? Chapter 2. Clearance. What are the 8 distresses? Hearing the senior monk's question, Jun Haoyin fell into deep thought. In fact, this was not a difficult question for Jun Haoyin. There was no trap in his words. In his previous life, Jun Haoyin had seen many Buddhist and Taoist scriptures. I can't say that I like these things. I'm just a little interested. Back then, during the coronation ceremony of the Langya Holy Land, he had relied on these memories to gain the recognition of the 9 sages of the Langya Holy Land. Although the memories in his mind were a little blurry. However, Jun Haoyin had already reached the transcendence realm. As long as he tried to recall, the things he had seen before would appear in his mind in full detail. There wouldn't be a single mistake. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin answered without hesitation. The so-called 8 distresses are life, old age, illness, death, love, separation, longing, and being unable to let go. Jun Haoyin spoke slowly as if he was handling the situation with ease. He was very confident in his answer and did not hesitate at all. The moment Jun Haoyin finished speaking, the Buddhist incense in front of him was extinguished. This meant that Jun Haoyin had passed the first level. Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyin's heart finally fell to the ground. In fact, Jun Haoyin was still a little worried. He had also learned that Buddhists seemed to be very good at sophistry. It was very mysterious. Just like what he had seen in his previous life, sometimes no matter how you answered, it would be wrong. There would always be contradictory answers. Perhaps this was just the beginning. Buddhists did not need to use sophistry. If they used sophistry from the beginning, Jun Haoyin would have a headache. Holy Son of Haoyin, you've won 1 round. It's your turn to ask the next question. After Jun Haoyin answered correctly, the senior monk immediately reminded Jun Haoyin. Answer a question correctly and pass a level. If the other party answered a question correctly, it would be the same as if the other party had not made any progress. However, if the other party answered incorrectly, it would be considered the next level. Therefore, there were a total of 18 levels. In the first level, the other party was obviously waterproof. Jun Haoyin naturally did not want to make things difficult for the other party. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin began to ask questions. Senior monk, may I ask if Tao is higher than Buddha? The moment Jun Haoyin's words left his mouth, everyone's expression changed. Everyone present was a cultivator of Buddhism. Naturally, they were all devoted to Buddhism. Therefore, in their hearts, they naturally thought that Buddha was higher than Tao. My heart is devoted to Buddha, so Buddha is 1 foot higher. Obviously, the senior monk had the same thought. He did not hesitate at all and directly said his answer. The senior monk's words did not cause much of an uproar. Everyone felt that what the senior monk said was right. The other party had already said very clearly that his heart was devoted to Buddha, so he thought that Buddha was 1 foot higher. There was absolutely no problem with this explanation. Moreover, this was the small thunderclap temple, a Buddhist faction. There was nothing wrong with this senior monk's words. Of course, different people would get different answers to the same question. The same thing could be said by Buddhists but not by Taoists. If one was in a Taoist land, that sentence naturally could not be said. That was the advantage and disadvantage of home and away. However, after hearing that sentence, Jun Haoyin revealed a strange smile on his face. The question he raised seemed simple, but it was actually a trap. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin immediately said, "Master, you are wrong. Your heart is devoted to Buddha, so Buddha is 1 foot higher. However, your heart is pretentious, so there is no Tao in your eyes, so you say that Buddha is 1 foot higher. However, if you are devoted to Buddha, there should be Tao in your eyes that encompasses all things, so Buddha is 1 foot higher. The answer to this question should be straightforward, and there is no higher or lower." Jun Haoyin's words were sonorous and forceful. The other party's meaning was very simple. I am a Buddhist disciple and I have Buddha in my heart, so Buddhism is 1 foot higher. The meaning of Jun Haoyin's explanation was also very simple. You are a Buddhist disciple, but you are a hypocritical Buddhist disciple. That was because a true Buddhist disciple was as vast as the sea, boundless and containing everything. That would make Buddha 1 foot higher, and you are just hypocritical and pure worshipping of Buddha. Therefore, Buddha can only be 1 foot higher, and that foot is only 1 foot higher in your heart. Wonderful. Such an answer is really ingenious. TSK, this kid's way of identifying mechanisms is simply ingenious and has great wisdom. As expected of the Holy Son of Haoyin. He is indeed extraordinary to have such achievements. At that moment, after hearing Jun Haoyin's words, the onlookers outside immediately exclaimed. However, there were still some monks who fell into deep thought after hearing Jun Haoyin's words. They did not want to agree with the theory of the small thunderclap temple. However, Jun Haoyin's explanation was very much in line with their Buddhist philosophy. The more they thought about it, the more they could not find any fault with it. In the end, they could only sigh. What a good saying. You are a hypocrite, so you have no Tao in your eyes, and Buddha is 1 foot higher. At that moment, the eminent monk who asked the question also spoke slowly. He looked at Jun Haoyin and put his palms together. His attitude was very polite. The Holy Son of Haoyin sincerely worships Buddha, so you have Tao in your eyes, and Buddha is 1 foot higher. Good. Almsgiver, you have great wisdom. I am ashamed. After the ancient monk failed in the debate, not only did he not get angry out of embarrassment. Instead, he carefully understood. Then he took a deep breath and bowed deeply to Jun Haoyin. He was extremely sincere. There was no feeling of pretense at all. That was gratitude from the bottom of his heart. He was like a true eminent monk of Buddhism. Knowing one's mistakes and correcting them is the greatest virtue. This is great enlightenment. Good. Jun Haoyin nodded with a calm look in his eyes. A debate was a debate, not a quarrel. He also wouldn't be overbearing. Clang, clang. At this moment, a Buddhist bell rang outside the debate hall. 2 consecutive sounds meant that Jun Haoyin had passed 2 questions in a row. The ancient monk closed his eyes. Next to the old monk, another monk opened his eyes. What is fate? The second question came. Jun Haoyin thought carefully when he heard the question. Buddhism spoke of fate. Fate was cause and effect. But this question of what was fate was too broad. It was a debate topic. But soon Jiang Qin thought of the answer. Fate comes and goes, fate gathers and disperses, fate arises and fate falls. The birth of all laws is all due to fate. Fate is preordained by the heavens. Fate goes, man seizes it himself. Sowing is cause, reaping is effect. Everything is created by the heart. Clang. Jun Haoyin had just finished speaking, and before the incense in front of him had even extinguished, the Buddhist bell rang outside. This meant that Jun Haoyin's answer had been acknowledged again. The surrounding monks looked at each other when they saw this scene. Holy Son Haoyin's answer had bypassed the person who asked the question and received the approval of the Buddhist bell. This was simply unbelievable. Jun Haoyin used a note from the Diamond Sutra of Buddhism to answer this question. because the original text was more complicated. Therefore what Jun Haoyin said was an annotated text. Good. This answer is wonderful. Fate comes and goes, fate gathers and disperses. Good. There were many monks watching at the entrance of the debate hall. There were high-level disciples and low-level disciples. Buddhist disciples liked to look for questions and answer them. Jun Haoyin had passed 3 questions in a row, and it was his turn to ask a question in the 4th. Chapter 190. Looking at the monk in front of him, Jun Haoyin thought for a while and came up with an answer. Then he threw out the final question. Monk, may I ask where you are from and where you are heading to? The moment Jun Haoyin's words came out, the crowd was stunned. Even the divine monk Xian Pin looked at Jun Haoyin with a puzzled expression. On the other hand, the senior monk's expression became even more confused as he frowned. Where am I from? Where am I heading to? What kind of question is this? An ordinary person might have answered directly, I came from my mother's womb. However, everyone present knew that this was definitely not the answer. The Holy Son of Great Heaven's question was full of traps. If one answered casually, one might get the answer wrong. As for the second question, it was full of traps as well. On the surface it was asking where you were going, but in reality, it was asking what was your purpose in coming to this world. What was your life's goal? These questions involved a lot of things and were difficult to answer. As long as there was a loophole, any answer would be wrong. There were a lot of things involved in this. To be assigned to the debate hall as an examiner, the monks here were naturally well versed in Buddhism and understood many mysteries of Buddhism. However, sometimes, it was the simplest question. At the same time, it was also the most difficult question. Jun Haoyin's question was the kind that went straight to the heart. The monk closed his eyebrows and thought for a long time. Then he sighed and said, Holy Son of Great Heaven, I can't answer it. Hearing the senior monk's words, Jun Haoyin revealed a smile. To be honest, he did not know the exact answer to this question. This was one of the 3 most deadly questions in his previous life. Anyone who wanted to answer it correctly would have a hard time. Dong, 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 dong. Following the monk's announcement of failure, another 4 bells rang. This meant that Jun Haoyin had successfully entered the 4th round. Next, Jun Haoyin relied on the knowledge of Buddhist scriptures that he had read in his previous life to clear all the rounds. The 5th stage, 6th stage, 7th stage, 8th stage, 9th stage and 10th stage. Jun Haoyin actually passed through 6 checkpoints in one go. Clang, 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 clang. Following the 6 deafening bell tolls, the entire small Lane temple instantly boiled over. The ringing of the bell meant that someone had consecutively passed 10 rounds in the debate hall. Even some of the busy monks were surprised when they heard the sound of the bell. Someone passed 10 rounds consecutively in the debate hall? I remember that the debate hall's bell rang 10 times. This hasn't happened in a long time. Who is this guy? I heard that the Holy Son of the Langya Holy Land, Haoyin, is currently in the debate hall. He has completely shocked the world. Could it be that the Holy Son of Haoyin is not only strong in cultivation, but also in Buddhism? Everyone who saw this scene was incomparably shocked. A non-Buddhist could actually pass 10 rounds consecutively in the debate hall of Buddhism? This record could only be achieved by the Holy Son of Kunlun who came a few days ago. At the same time, rays of Buddhist light appeared above the small Lane temple. Following that, terrifying figures appeared one after another. Every figure that came out revealed an astonishing Buddhist light behind them. These people were from the small Lane temple. With their attainments in Buddhism, their strength was definitely not inferior to the Dharma characteristic realm. Greetings, Elder Wu Wei. Greetings, Elder Wu Wei. Greetings, Elder Wu Ming. In the small Lane temple, the elders of the Wu generation were only second to the abbot. At this moment, these figures that appeared belonged to the upper echelons of the small Lane temple. These elders of the small Lane temple all had old faces and wore simple kasayas. He exuded an aura of returning to the natural state, which made people feel that he was an eminent monk at first glance. With the appearance of these senior monks, the entire debate hall became even livelier. At this moment, even divine monk Xian Pin, who had been silent from the beginning to the end, was stunned. How could the Holy Son of Vast Heaven's Buddhist principles be so strong after passing 10 rounds in the debate hall? Could the Holy Son of Vast Heaven be the person that his master had always been talking about? There were 9 questions and 9 answers in the debate hall, from shallow to deep. Perhaps the first 2 rounds were not that difficult. However, towards the end, the questions raised were more tricky, profound and difficult to answer. As long as one could pass 15 rounds in the debate hall, they would be able to leave their name in the debate hall forever. Leaving one's name in the debate hall was undoubtedly a great honor. For hundreds of thousands of years, there were less than 100 people who could leave their names in the debate hall. Furthermore, the debate hall was open to all martial artists in the world, regardless of whether they were from a sacred ground or a Buddhist sect. Even demons, and people from the martial god continent could come to the debate hall. At this moment, Jun Haoyin passed 10 questions in a row, shocking everyone. Although this result was not unparalleled, it was enough to cause a stir. At this moment, terrifying existences slowly appeared outside the debate hall. Although their status was very high, their expressions were very calm. They did not make a fuss and listened quietly. In the end, the debate hall was surrounded by 3 to 4 layers of people. It was already impenetrable. Even some high monks could only stand in the distance and circulate their cultivation base to watch this scene. And now, in front of Jun Haoyin, an eminent monk suddenly opened his eyes. The Holy Son of Vast Heaven asked the question before. I also have a question, Tao to Buddha. Tao to Buddha? Hearing this eminent monk's words, Jun Haoyin immediately frowned. This question was extremely tricky. Obviously, the other party was probably because of the question he had asked earlier. This person would only ask such a question to make the debate hall suffer. This eminent monk of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple wanted to use the other party's method to give them a taste of their own medicine. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin could not help but smile mysteriously. There was no doubt that there was a trap hidden in this question. Whether he answered Tao to Buddha or Tao to Buddha, he would be said to have answered wrongly. Naturally, there was only one answer, and that was that they were the same. However, this did not mean that Jun Haoyin said that they were the same. There had to be a good reason why they were the same. It was undoubtedly extremely difficult to explain such a question clearly. Outside the debate hall, Xuanzang, who had been watching, also frowned. He felt that this question seemed to be a little difficult for the Holy Son of Vast Heaven. Even the eminent monks who came to watch later also felt that this question was very tricky. As time passed, Jun Haoyin still did not answer the question. At this moment, the Buddhist incense in the debate hall had burned down by a third. Tao to Buddha? To this question, Jun Haoyin could only answer that it was the same. But what could he use to explain? Jun Haoyin kept recalling the Buddhist scriptures he had read before in his mind. Naturally, he would use the questions in the Buddhist scriptures to answer the Buddhist questions. I got it. After a moment, Jun Haoyin's eyes lit up. He already had an answer in his heart. He slowly stood up with his hands behind his back. He looked at the eminent monk in front of him and said slowly, "Divine monk, please listen. My answer is that there is no difference between Tao to Buddha and Tao to Buddha." Just as Jun Haoyin finished speaking. Clang, 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 clang. 18 shocking bell tolls suddenly rang out, causing everyone to be extremely shocked. Tao to Buddha. No difference between Tao to Buddha and Tao to Buddha. The Holy Son of Vast Heaven's answer was approved by the Buddhist bell again? In the debate hall there was a very special rule. As long as the Buddhist bell approved the answer, it meant that the answer was correct. Seeing this scene, the eminent monk who asked the question suddenly stood up and sighed. Tao to Buddha, no difference between Tao to Buddha and Tao to Buddha. Previously this poor monk was rash. As he said this, the immortal level monk actually bowed slightly to show his respect to Jun Haoyin. This action immediately shocked everyone. Chapter 2, Who Am I? One had to know. To be able to stand in the debate hall as an examiner. Not only did one have to be powerful, but one also had to be the pillar of the small Lain temple. These eminent monks not only had profound dharma but also great wisdom. At this moment he actually bowed to Jun Haoyin. To Jun Haoyin this was definitely an extremely high honor. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. Even the divine monk Shen Pin was a little surprised. Even he, a Buddhist genius who was known as the reincarnation of Buddha, could not achieve such an achievement. Even the eminent monk in the debate hall is bowing to the Holy Son of Vast Heaven. This Holy Son of Vast Heaven is amazing. If he was a Buddhist disciple, his achievements would definitely be extraordinary. The Holy Son of Vast Heaven is really unfathomable. Did the Holy Son of Vast Heaven really come into contact with Dharma before? Why is he so proficient in Dharma? The eminent monk of the debate hall bowed to Jun Haoyin. This scene immediately pushed the atmosphere to the extreme. At this moment, everyone present looked at Jun Haoyin. At this moment, Jun Haoyin was like the Son of God, basking in the limelight. A moment later, the Buddhist incense was extinguished and the bell rang. At this moment, Jun Haoyin had already passed 11 levels in a row. Next, it was Jun Haoyin's turn to ask questions. Jun Haoyan naturally asked the ultimate philosophical question. Just like this, in less than half an hour, Jun Haoyan directly passed the 15th level. Clang, 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 clang. Another 15 consecutive bell rings rang. This meant that Jun Haoyan directly passed the 15th level. The Buddhist bell rang endlessly in the ancient temple. It immediately attracted the attention of all the monks in the small thunder temple. Countless monks headed towards the debate hall. At this moment, their hearts were filled with curiosity. They wanted to see with their own eyes who was so powerful. Passing 15 levels in a row. Such a result has already surpassed the Holy Son of Kunlun. He's really too powerful. This Holy Son of Hao Tian's achievements in the future will definitely be extraordinary. Listen, the 16th bell is ringing. Oh my God, 2 more levels and the Holy Son of Hao Tian will directly pass the 18th level. No one has ever done this before. Even the abbot of the past only passed the 16th level. He probably won't be able to pass the 17th level. At this moment, countless people were in shock. Their faces were filled with disbelief. As for the Buddhist disciples, their faces were even more dazed. Even the divine monk Xuanzang was fearful of Jun Haoyan at this moment. However, at this stage, everyone felt that Jun Haoyan's cultivation would stop here. Although Jun Haoyan asked questions on the 17th level, no one in the debate hall could answer them. All the eminent monks had been defeated by Jun Haoyan. As for the last 2 levels, they would be assessed by the abbot of the small thunder temple. Moreover, the 17th level was completely different from the 18th level. Because of the last 2 levels, it was not just a question. It also required debate. That was also the most difficult part. In this world, who could debate Buddhism with the abbot of the small thunder temple? In everyone's opinion, the Holy Son of Hao Tian would definitely lose this round of debate. At the same time, the entire debate hall let out a roar. Under everyone's gaze, a figure slowly appeared from the void. This figure was wearing a linen robe and looked very ordinary. Moreover, this person looked very old, as if he could die at any time. The most eye-catching thing was undoubtedly the 5 rings of Buddha's light behind his head. Seeing this old monk, all the small thunder temple disciples put their palms together and greeted, "Greetings, Abbot! Greetings, Abbot! Greetings, Abbot! Greetings, Abbot!" Everyone put their palms together and was extremely respectful. The figure that appeared was naturally the abbot of the small thunder temple, divine monk Fa Hai. He was also one of the strongest existences in the entire Western Desert. In terms of Buddhism, divine monk Fa Hai could definitely be ranked in the top 5 in the entire Western Desert. This was a true senior monk who had attained the Tao. Holy Son of Hao Tian. At that moment, divine monk Fa Hai looked at Jun Haoyan and put his palms together. Divine monk Fa Hai's expression remained indifferent, and his aged face was somewhat peaceful. As for Jun Haoyan, after seeing this person, his expression did not change. Seeing divine monk Fa Hai, Jun Haoyan's expression changed slightly. He looked deeply at divine monk Fa Hai and said, "Master Fa Hai, you're finally willing to see me." This time, Jun Haoyan's purpose in coming to the small thunder temple was to see the abbot of the small thunder temple. Otherwise, he would not have come to the debate hall for no reason. Amit Ba, it's my fault for making the Holy Son of Hao Tian wait for so long. I'll defend the last 2 stages. As long as the Holy Son of Hao Tian completes them, I'll answer all the questions in your heart. Looking at Jun Haoyan, divine monk Fa Hai revealed a smile on his face and said slowly. When Jun Haoyan heard this, he nodded his head. It was already the last 2 stages, he did not mind going through them directly. At that moment, divine monk Fa Hai sat cross-legged in the debate hall with his palms together. Holy Son of Hao Tian, please ask your question. At that moment, everyone focused their attention on the 2 of them. They were eager to know what questions the Holy Son of Hao Tian would ask in front of divine monk Fa Hai. And how would divine monk Fa Hai answer the Holy Son of Hao Tian's questions? Master, may I ask who I am? Looking at divine monk Fa Hai, Jun Haoyan smirked and asked slowly. As soon as the question was asked, everyone was stunned. Even the eminent monks who had faced Jun Haoyan's tricky questions were also stunned. What kind of question was that? Who am I? You are you. Divine monk Fa Hai did not hesitate and answered directly. He did not directly say that Jun Haoyan was Jun Haoyan, but directly said that he was you. This was also the best explanation. However, at that moment Jun Haoyan began to laugh. No, I am indeed me, but you don't know who I am. As soon as he said that, everyone was confused. You're not you? Then who are you? Divine monk Fa Hai was also stunned and spoke again. Holy Son, what do you mean? If you're not you, how can you tell? Jun Haoyan smiled and continued to speak. Do you know who I am? No, you don't. Am I the Holy Son of Hao Tian? No, this is just a name, a code name. Divine Monk can be called Holy Son of Hao Tian. I can also be called Jun Haoyan. Everyone present can be called Holy Son of Hao Tian. But if I remove this code name, who am I? At that moment, Jun Haoyan was full of witty words. His words made everyone, including Grandmaster Fa Hai, dumbfounded. After removing the name of Holy Son of Hao Tian, who was Holy Son of Hao Tian? Who was he? Thinking of this, Divine Monk Fa Hai suddenly realized. Jun Haoyan's question was very problematic. Master Fa Hai understood very well that he did not want to delve into this question. Because he knew. This question was a trap. He could not answer. At that moment, Jun Haoyan smiled. This question was ranked first among the 3 ultimate philosophical questions. Although Divine Monk Fa Hai's Dharma was profound. But if one continued to investigate, no one could answer it. Even Buddha could not. Of course, this kind of question was only useful in Buddhist debates. It was placed outside. Who would care who you were? But even so, Master Fa Hai admitted that he had lost. The 17th stage passed. Chapter 191. Holy Son of Haoyan indeed has great wisdom. Divine Monk Fa Hai looked at Jun Haoyan and couldn't help but sigh. Next, it's time for this old monk to ask the last question. The words of Divine Monk Fa Hai immediately caused the expressions of everyone present to turn solemn. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan nodded and waited for Divine Monk Fa Hai's question. At this moment, Divine Monk Fa Hai's simple Kasaya suddenly emitted a burst of dazzling Buddhist light. His incomparably old body seemed to be filled with divine light. Rays of Buddhist light surrounded his body as if a true Buddha had descended to the world. Everyone looked at this scene with a solemn expression. The question raised by Divine Monk Fa Hai was definitely the ultimate difficult question. It would be difficult for Holy Son of Haoyan to answer it. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Divine Monk Fa Hai finally spoke. This old monk asks Holy Son Dao Buddha? Hearing the question raised by Divine Monk Fa Hai, everyone present was shocked. Why was this question brought up again? Hadn't this been raised twice before? At that time, the ancient monk deliberately targeted Jun Haoyan because the questions raised by Jun Haoyan were somewhat illusory. However, everyone didn't expect that even Divine Monk Fa Hai would raise this question. If it was just an ordinary monk asking a question, anyone in Buddha would be able to comment on it. However, Divine Monk Fa Hai was an eminent monk. His question had to be answered seriously and couldn't be messed around. Moreover, Divine Monk Fa Hai's question had an extraordinary meaning. Buddha? Dao? Since ancient times, wasn't this the question that Buddhism and Taoism had been arguing about? Divine Monk Fa Hai asked Holy Son of Haoyan, the Holy Son of Taoism. Without a doubt, this question was pushed to a very serious situation. This even involved the battle between Buddhism and Taoism. Hearing this question, even Jun Haoyan furrowed his brows. He didn't dare to answer this question easily. Otherwise there would be a big problem. He raised his gaze and looked at Divine Monk Fa Hai. He saw that this seemingly benevolent and kind person was no different from an ordinary person at this moment. In his eyes, Jun Haoyan saw a strong desire for knowledge. Obviously, this question had been troubling Divine Monk Fa Hai. At this moment, he desperately hoped that Jun Haoyan could give him an answer. The Buddhas of the present age are not real Buddhas. The Tao is great and the Buddhas are small. After considering for a long time, Jun Haoyan finally spoke. This answer had been carefully considered by him. As soon as Jun Haoyan said this, the scene immediately exploded. A series of thunderous rebukes resounded in the hall. How dare you? How dare you, Hao Tian? How dare you insult Buddhism? Ever since the ancient times, Buddhism and Taoism have been fighting for millions of years without a conclusion. You ignorant brat, how dare you spout such nonsense in front of us? This is simply disrespectful. You deserve to die 1,000 times for your crime. Young people are really arrogant. How dare you judge the strength of Buddhism with just your words? Insulting Buddhism, even if you are the Holy Son of Langya Holy Land, you will be severely punished. After hearing Jun Haoyan's words, many of the eminent monks present were furious. They looked at Jun Haoyan as if they had been greatly insulted. Some of them even looked at Jun Haoyan with murderous eyes. Originally, because of Jun Haoyan's performance in the debate hall, many eminent monks had a good impression of Jun Haoyan. But now, because of Jun Haoyan's words, their good impression of Jun Haoyan had disappeared. They even glared at Jun Haoyan like an angry Vajra. It was as if they would suppress Jun Haoyan if they did not give a perfect explanation today. In fact, these monks could not be blamed. For the disciples of Buddhism, Buddhism was their faith in their hearts. But today Jun Haoyan actually said that Buddhism was inferior to Buddhism. This directly destroyed their faith and destroyed their hope. This was treason and could not be forgiven. Silence. At this moment, a thunderous voice exploded in everyone's ears. Everyone heard Divine Monk Fa Hai's words. Then the scene immediately quieted down. It could be seen that Divine Monk Fa Hai had a very high status in the hearts of the disciples of Buddhism. Holy Son, please enlighten me. Compared to the other eminent monks of Buddhism, Divine Monk Fa Hai carried a tranquil aura. Previously, Jun Haoyan's words, "The current Buddha is not the real Buddha," had directly made them furious. Jun Haoyan's words were a blatant insult to Buddhism. As disciples of Buddhism, how could they tolerate this? However, Divine Monk Fa Hai was indeed an abbot. At this moment, his face was still as calm as water, without a trace of anger. There was no change in his expression from beginning to end, unmoved by the outside world. He only looked at Jun Haoyan's figure, his heart filled with doubts and curiosity. The current Buddha focuses on self-salvation. Only those who are fated with Buddhism can be guided. So, in my eyes, this is Hinayana Buddhism. Seeking self-transcendence, the understanding of Buddhism is too high. Hinayana Buddhism. All Buddhist cultivators can follow Buddhism, but they can only reach Arhat Buddhahood in their lifetime. They believe that Buddhism is supreme and humans cannot become Buddhas. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan spoke again slowly. He was right. The Buddhism of this world was for self-salvation, not for all living beings. Even if it was for all living beings, it was only for conversion to Buddhism. This was not a real Buddha at all. Although Jun Haoyan's words were very reasonable, there were still many disciples of Buddhism who were unwilling to accept it. Buddhism is a supreme existence. Does placing Buddhism in a supreme position become Hinayana Buddhism? It's ridiculous. Holy Son of Haoyan, you're so young and you dare to deny the status of Buddhism. Aren't you too arrogant? Many eminent monks glared at Jun Haoyan, extremely unwilling to accept it. After the abbot spoke, they spoke rashly without any support. These people's status was obviously not low. Junior brothers, don't be blinded. At this moment, Divine Monk Fa Hai spoke and warned the other party. In fact, Divine Monk Fa Hai agreed with Jun Haoyan's statement. One could not think that Buddhism was supreme just because they practiced Buddhism. There were immortals and Buddhas in the world. Naturally, it was difficult to distinguish who was superior and who was stronger. However, Buddhism still believed that Buddhism was supreme. Since this is Hinayana Buddhism, what is Mahayana Buddhism? In the next moment, Divine Monk Fa Hai's eyes shone with golden light as he looked straight at Jun Haoyan and asked. Since Jun Haoyan said that what they practiced was inferior Buddhism, he naturally had to use Mahayana Buddhism to convince them. At this moment, not only Divine Monk Fa Hai, but everyone looked at Jun Haoyan. There was even a hint of threat in their gazes. If Jun Haoyan did not give them a satisfactory answer, it would be difficult for Jun Haoyan to walk out of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple today. Hearing that, Jun Haoyan smiled confidently. Salvation is Hinayana Buddhism. Salvation is Mahayana Buddhism. Everyone is a Buddha. It's Mahayana Buddhism. Everything has Buddha's essence and can become a Buddha. It's Mahayana Buddhism. Hinayana Buddhism says that Buddhist cultivators must abide by the precepts, shave their heads, become monks and abide by the rules. And Mahayana Buddhism allows all living beings to worship Buddhism. Then Jun Haoyan continued to chant the supreme Buddhist scriptures. Prajna Paramitha Heart Sutra. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, when he practiced Prajna Paramitha, saw that the 5 skandhas were all emptiness and passed through all hardships. Sarira, form is not different from emptiness, emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It is the same for feelings, thoughts, actions and consciousness. Sarira is the emptiness of all dharmas. It is neither created nor destroyed, neither dirty nor clean, neither increasing nor decreasing. Lines of Buddhist scriptures full of truth poured out from Jun Haoyan's mouth. Originally, Jun Haoyan did not intend to say much. He just wanted to read out a paragraph to convince these Buddhist disciples. But in the end, he did not know if it was because this was the holy land of Buddhism. When Jun Haoyan was reading the Buddhist scriptures, he had a feeling that he could not control it. He actually read out all the Buddhist scriptures that he knew in his memory. While Jun Haoyan was reading the Buddhist scriptures, outside the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, a shocking Buddhist light soared into the sky, shocking the world. Sarira. Form is not different from emptiness, emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It is the same for feelings, thoughts, actions, and consciousness. Although Jun Haoyan's voice was very soft, under the power of the holy land of Buddhism, it suddenly became incomparably grand, as if Buddha was saving the world. At this moment, in the main hall of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, 81 Buddha statues shook. The left side hall had 108 arhats, while the right side hall had 365 walkers, all shook at the same time. At this moment, every Buddha statue burst out with an endless amount of Buddhist light. The ancient Sanskrit sound echoed in every corner of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple. Boom! Inside the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, an endless amount of Buddhist light soared into the sky. Outside the debate hall, the Buddhist bell rang loudly. The supreme Mahayana scripture completely displayed the vast Buddhist power. Chapter 2, Divine Body. This supreme Buddhist scripture. This was the first time Jun Haoyan read it in this world. It was also a Buddhist principle that had never appeared in this world before. Now, when Jun Haoyan read this Buddhist scripture, it was as if this scripture was created by him. What kind of creation was this? Moreover, Jun Haoyan was currently in the Western Desert, the headquarters of the Buddhist forces. Here, countless golden Buddhas were gathered. The scripture that Jun Haoyan read caused the world to shake. The million Buddhas greeting. Beams of Buddhist light surged and shot above the void. Under the vibration of this terrifying power, the entire Lesser Thunderclap Temple began to shake violently. It was shocking. At the top of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, huge Buddha shadows that were tens of thousands of feet tall slowly appeared, enveloping the entire Lesser Thunderclap Temple. When the countless Buddhist disciples of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple saw this scene, they fell into a daze. Even the usually calm divine monk Xianpin was shocked to the point of no return. He stared blankly at Jun Haoyan, his heart filled with disbelief. This holy son of Haoyan could actually do this. This guy is really too terrifying. Thousands of miles away from the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, some ascetic monks were on a pilgrimage. But at this moment, ancient Buddhist chants sounded from the void. Endless Buddhist light directly enveloped these devout ascetic monks. Under the illumination of the Buddhist light, these ascetic monks seemed to have an epiphany and were immersed in the endless Buddhist light. This is the Buddha's manifestation. This direction seems to be the location of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple. Could it be that there's a Buddha in the Lesser Thunderclap Temple? Countless people looked at this scene and guessed in their hearts. Some Buddhists even let out hysterical ecstasy. Boom, boom, boom. Just like this, with the Lesser Thunderclap Temple where Jun Haoyan was at as the center. A burst of Buddhist light began to spread throughout the entire Western Desert. The incomparably ancient temples standing in the Western Desert began to emit an endless amount of Buddhist light. If anyone was there, they would be shocked to see this. At this moment, the golden bodies of the Buddhas in these temples were also chanting scriptures. Just like this, the originally desolate Western Desert began to emit shocking Buddhist light everywhere. Many temples even had Buddhas manifesting their forms. At the same time, in the most central area of the Western Desert, there were many golden lotuses and countless auspicious beasts. Many rainbow bridges turned this place into a sea of Buddhas, just like the real Nirvana. This was one of the three major Buddhist factions in the Western Desert, the Diamond Temple. At this moment in the Diamond Temple, there was a Buddhist bell with hundreds of eminent monks chanting scriptures around it. However, in the next moment, the Buddhist bell suddenly vibrated. Under the gaze of all the monks, this Buddhist bell suddenly emitted endless Buddhist light. The Buddha carvings on it even had illusions appearing, as if they were about to manifest. Moreover, these Buddha illusions opened and closed their mouths, and Buddhist scriptures poured out from their mouths. In addition, these Buddhist scriptures that were being recited contained shocking truths. At the same time, in a central area of the Diamond Temple, an extremely old monk suddenly opened his eyes. His face, which had always been calm like an ancient well, was now filled with shock. Such a terrifying Buddhist light. Could it be that the Lesser Thunderclap Temple has produced an arhat? He looked in the direction of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple with an extremely shocked expression. His eyes were filled with shock. However, the Lesser Thunderclap Temple producing an arhat had nothing to do with the Diamond Temple. Then why was the Diamond Temple shining with Buddhist light at this moment? Master, what's going on? Seeing the old monk's expression, a white-robed monk beside the old monk slowly asked. At this moment, he put his palms together and looked at the old monk in surprise. Looking at the situation, the Lesser Thunderclap Temple should have produced an Arhat. Moreover, judging by this aura, it doesn't seem to be that kid Xuanzang. Hearing the white-robed monk's words, the old monk slowly spoke. 2 rays of golden light suddenly flashed in his turbid eyes, as if he could see through everything. Hearing that, the white-robed monk beside him was shocked. Master, if I remember correctly, the Lesser Thunderclap Temple hasn't produced an Arhat for 10,000 years. Among the 3 major Buddhist forces in the Western Desert, only the Lesser Thunderclap Temple has yet to produce an Arhat. I wonder if the Lesser Thunderclap Temple producing an Arhat is a good thing or a bad thing. The white-robed monk looked at the old monk and expressed his thoughts. He put his palms together in a very respectful manner. Even when he heard that the Lesser Thunderclap Temple had produced an Arhat, he was not very surprised. That was because he was also an Arhat. The current Arhat of the Diamond Temple, Jin Luan. He was also the most powerful person among the younger generation in the entire Western Desert. He was known as the most powerful person in the Western Desert. Zhong Qianzi, South WRM King, East Kunlun, West Jinluan. These 4 were the most powerful young prodigies in the entire Wuxian continent. Their foundation was so strong and their talents so high that it was simply terrifying. When the old monk heard Jin Luan's words, he immediately shook his head. Everything is predestined. Regardless of whether it's good or bad, it has already happened. Hearing that, Jin Luan seemed to understand something. He nodded without saying anything. However, he was still curious about the identity of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple's Arhat. Therefore he asked the old monk, if the Lesser Thunderclap Temple's Arhat is not Xuanzang, who else could it be? I don't remember there being such a person in the Lesser Thunderclap Temple. When the old monk heard that, he immediately narrowed his eyes and said slowly, Eastern Wilderness Hao Tian, what a pity. After saying that, the old monk closed his eyes again. If it were anyone else, they might not have understood what the old monk meant. However, when the white-robed monk heard that, he immediately understood. I didn't expect the Holy Son of Great Heaven to be so capable. No wonder he was able to kill Prince Jiao. Jin Luan said slowly with a smile on his face. After that, Jin Luan did not think too much and followed the old monk to cultivate. Of course, this scene did not only happen in the Diamond Temple. Even the Xiankong Temple, which was the furthest away from the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, was shocked. In an instant, all the temples in the Western Desert sensed something. Countless people rushed towards the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, wanting to see the new Arhat. Small Thunder Temple, Debate Hall. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was still reciting the scripture. When Jun Haoyan recited them, they were all transmitted by the 10,000 Buddhas. The entire ancient temple had turned into a sea of Buddhas. Sanskrit chants were everywhere and Buddhist light was everywhere. Everyone seemed to have become Buddhas. Following Jun Haoyan's continuous chanting, a 24th grade golden lotus appeared beneath Jun Haoyan's feet. 20 lotuses represented great enlightenment, great wisdom and great fortune. Jun Haoyan's body was surrounded by Buddhist light as threads and Sanskrit chants as cloth. They intertwined to form a dazzling kasaya. Some people opened their eyes and looked at Jun Haoyan as if they were looking at Buddha. This was the last part of the Heart Sutra. Jun Haoyan recited it. He finished reciting the Buddhist scriptures in one go. At this moment, a majestic voice resounded throughout the Lesser Thunderclap Temple. Amitabha Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, when walking the deep Prajna Paramitha, saw that the 5 skandhas were all emptiness, transcending all suffering. Boundless merit, boundless dharma, boundless wisdom and boundless enlightenment, this is great kindness. An ancient and majestic voice sounded, shaking everyone. This was not the voice of a human, nor was it the voice of an eminent monk. It was the voice of a true Buddha. Billions of Buddha statues, a Buddha shadow condensed from endless psyche. Everyone looked up. Billions of living beings in the Western Desert looked up. In the void, above the starry sky, a huge Buddha shadow appeared. The Buddhist light was boundless, covering the light of the stars. This was a true Buddha condensed from the psyche of all living beings. After he spoke, a 9-colored Buddhist light descended into Jun Haoyan's body. Then a golden lotus bloomed beneath Jun Haoyan's feet. Qilin, heavenly dragon, phoenix, black tortoise and white tiger accompanied him. These were the true spirits of these ferocious beasts. They surged into Jun Haoyan's body. At the same time, the 7 treasures Bodhi tree in his body released a supreme Buddhist light. Moreover, Jun Haoyan was surprised to find that under the illumination of the Buddhist light, his physique had become stronger. One had to know that his physique was already a sacred physique. If he went one step further, he would have the legendary divine physique. Chapter 192. Since ancient times, anyone with a divine body would definitely become a supreme existence in the Sage King realm. If they had the slightest opportunity, it was not impossible for them to become a supreme being. However, the difference between a sacred body and a divine body was like the abyss. At this moment, even though there was an endless Buddhist light enveloping him, it was difficult for Jun Haoyan to advance to a divine body. A divine body was an extremely terrifying existence in the world. In order to achieve the godly physique, one would need supreme luck and fortune. Of course, it also required a large amount of energy. Although Jun Haoyan could not completely advance to a divine body this time, the body tempering by the Buddhist light this time had already opened the door for him to achieve a divine body. From now on, Jun Haoyan only needed to continuously accumulate energy. One day he would be able to advance to a divine body in one fell swoop. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was sitting on a futon in the debate hall. Inside his body, there was an endless amount of resplendent light revolving around it, causing people to be extremely shocked. His body was completely enveloped by the Buddhist light and was undergoing tempering to the point of transformation. Although his strength and cultivation did not increase by much this time's creation. However, compared to before, Jun Haoyan's body and soul were undoubtedly much stronger. Furthermore, there was also an endless Buddhist light on Jun Haoyan's soul. This Buddhist light was incomparably abstruse and mysterious. If others glanced at it from afar, they would be able to comprehend it. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's soul was above the heaven gate. At the same time, he circulated the past Amitabha Sutra to enhance his soul. After doing all this, Jun Haoyan's soul had already reached the limit of 1.9 inches. He only needed one more step and his soul would reach the realm of a 2-inch essence spirit. At that time, Jun Haoyan would be able to break through directly and his cultivation would successfully reach the second level of the Dharma characteristic realm. If others knew about this, they would definitely be shocked. They knew that it had only been 3 to 5 days since Jun Haoyan broke through to the Dharma characteristic realm. Such a rapid breakthrough speed was simply unheard of. He was like a monster. Half a day later, all the Buddhist light on Jun Haoyan's body finally dissipated slowly. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's eyes moved slightly and he slowly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, he saw all the monks in the debate hall looking at him in shock. Seeing that Jun Haoyan had finally woken up, the Magic Sea Godly Physique immediately said, "The Holy Sun is truly a wise man with great wisdom and comprehension. I admire you." At this moment, in front of Jun Haoyan, the abbot of the small Lain temple actually called himself a little monk. One should know that the Dharma Sea Divine Physique was one of the 3 great Buddhist abbot of the Western Desert. In terms of status, they were no different from the holy masters of the 7 holy lands. Furthermore, the Dharma Sea Divine Physique had a profound understanding of Buddhism and was extremely powerful. However, at this moment, Divine Monk Fa Hai was extremely humble and respectful in front of Jun Haoyan. His attitude immediately surprised everyone. However, the Dharma Sea Divine Physique turned a deaf ear to all of this. He only stared at Jun Haoyan with a kind gaze and said, "The Holy Sun has already passed 18 rounds in the debate hall assessment this time. He passed all 9 questions and answers. According to the previous agreement, I will naturally answer the Holy Sun's questions for the Holy Sun. However, before answering, I hope that the Holy Sun can listen to me." At this point, the Dharma Sea Divine Physique's expression gradually turned serious. "Master, just say it." Hearing that, Jun Haoyan raised his brows and said nonchalantly. Now that he had passed the assessment and the other party had agreed to answer his questions, there was no need to rush. Moreover, he had also obtained a supreme opportunity in the debate hall assessment this time. "Amitabha, I would like to ask if the Holy Sun is willing to join my Buddhist sect?" Divine Monk Fa Hai asked. What he said immediately made everyone exclaim in disbelief. Even the faces of the eminent monks of the Buddhist sect changed drastically. Everyone here knew that the Holy Sun of Great Heaven was the Holy Sun of the Langya Holy Ground. He was also the only Holy Sun. Even the Holy Lord of Langya had appointed him as the next Holy Lord of the Langya Holy Ground. With such a noble status and monstrous talent, why would he join the Buddhist sect? Just as everyone was in a state of confusion, Divine Monk Fa Hai spoke again. His words once again shocked the entire small Thunderclap temple. "If the Holy Sun of Great Heaven is willing to join my Buddhist sect, I am willing to honor you as the Arhat of the small Thunderclap temple." Honor the Holy Sun of Great Heaven as the Arhat? Upon hearing Divine Monk Fa Hai's words, even the sempiternal realm high monks could no longer hold themselves back. The Arhat. There were only 3 of them in the entire western desert. Once he became the Arhat, he would definitely be the abbot of the small Thunderclap Temple in the future. With such a high status, he would enjoy countless benefits. In terms of status, he would be even higher than the Holy Son of the Holy Ground. There was no other reason. Because the Arhat of the Buddhist sect did not exist for every generation. Sometimes, it would be thousands or even tens of thousands of years apart. And most importantly, a Arhat represented a great significance and was the symbol of the Buddhist sect. Such treatment was naturally extremely honorable. Although the small Thunderclap Temple had never produced a supreme expert. Since ancient times, the Buddhist sect had been one. The foundation of every Buddhist sect could not be underestimated. As for becoming a bodhisattva, that was the dream of countless Buddhist disciples. And the most important and most attractive point. That was, as long as one became the Arhat, he would have the opportunity to enter the Nirvana land to cultivate the supreme Buddhist doctrine. In the future he would definitely attain the Buddha fruit and become a supreme Buddhist venerable. This was definitely the best opportunity to soar to the sky. However, after hearing what Divine Monk Fa Hai said, Jun Haoyin only smiled faintly. Thank you for your kindness, but I have no intention of leaving the Langya holy ground. Jun Haoyin's words were undoubtedly a direct rejection of Master Fa Hai's request. Just as Jun Haoyin said, he had never thought of entering the Buddhist sect. Moreover, the Langya holy ground fully supported him after he became the Holy Son. Tao Xian did not hesitate to take out a supreme weapon to fight against the 3 holy grounds. Jun Haoyin would never forget such love and care. Jun Haoyin had already made up his mind. Even if he did not become the Holy Lord of Langya in the future, he would definitely make the Langya holy ground the #1 force in the continent. As for joining the Buddhist sect, he had never thought of it. Hearing Jun Haoyin's words, Master Fa Hai sighed slightly. At this moment, everyone finally reacted. The Arhat of the Arhat. The Holy Son of Haoyin directly rejected it? However, when everyone thought of Jun Haoyin's identity, they felt that Jun Haoyin's decision was reasonable. The Holy Son of Haoyin was the future Holy Lord of Langya. Such an existence stood at the peak of the entire Wuxian continent. Since the Holy Son of Haoyin insists, I will not force you. However, if you change your mind in the future, the doors of the small Layin temple are always open. Divine Monk Fa Hai put his palms together. In his heart, he hoped that Jun Haoyin would become the Arhat of the small Layin temple. He even had the thought of forcibly converting him. However, after Jun Haoyin recited the Heart Sutra, Divine Monk Fa Hai gave up on this idea. This was a truly wise and immeasurable young man. Forcibly converting him would only bring about harm and no benefit. Moreover, if he were to forcefully convert Jun Haoyin, he would have to be prepared to go to war with the Langya holy ground. Back then, the Holy Lord of Langya and Tao Xian did not hesitate to use their supreme weapon to go to war with the 3 holy lands in order to protect the Holy Son of Haoyin. If he were to forcefully convert the Holy Son of Haoyin, Tao Xian would probably bring his supreme weapon and come knocking on his door. Therefore, Divine Monk Fa Hai had no choice but to give up the idea in his heart. Thank you for your understanding, Divine Monk. Now please tell me your doubts. Jun Haoyin spoke, his face still calm. This group of monks was still trustworthy and did not force him to stay. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to deal with. Of course, Holy Son of Haoyin, please follow me. Divine Monk Fa Hai put his palms together with a smile on his face, then turned around. The latter did not mind and followed directly. At this moment, in front of a side hall of the small Layin temple, Jun Haoyin and the abbot of the small Layin temple stood side by side. The latter put his palms together with a smile on his old face. He bowed slightly and spoke. The answer that the Holy Son wants is actually inside. Hearing this, Jun Haoyin nodded. He was fearless and directly pushed the door open. Inside the hall, there was endless cold air surrounding it. The entire hall seemed to have turned into an icy hell. In the center, a woman with her eyes closed had a snow lotus mark between her eyebrows. Was Jun Moyo. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Inside the hall, there was a violent aura and a cold current. At this moment, the entire hall seemed to have turned into an ice hell. The cold current surging inside seemed to be able to freeze everything. Jun Haoyin naturally felt this extremely terrifying chill. The moment the door opened, the horrifying cold current that overflowed almost froze his true yuan. He looked at Jun Moyo, who was in the center of the hall. At this moment, Jun Moyo was wearing a blue dress and snowflakes were falling around her. Jun Haoyan focused his gaze. He realized that the snowflakes were not real but illusory. Even so, Jun Haoyan could still feel the terrifying power from them. At this moment, Jun Haoyan suddenly remembered the origin of Jun Moyo that Linglong Saint had mentioned to him. The clone of goddess Xuanji from the realm of the gods. Now, it seemed that Linglong Saint was telling the truth. With this freezing power, if not for the Buddhist seal in the hall, the entire small Lane temple would have been frozen. This was definitely a terrifying power. Holy Son of Haoyan, the answer that you want is inside. At this moment, Divine Monk Fa Hai, who had been following behind Jun Haoyan, suddenly spoke. Fa Hai had a smile on his face and his attitude was even friendlier than before. Then Fa Hai continued, I won't be going in. If Holy Son has any questions you can ask me later. Thank you, Divine Monk. Hearing Fa Hai's words, Jun Haoyan nodded and said politely. Then Jun Haoyan stepped into the hall without hesitation. In an instant the door of the hall closed. At this moment the cold air in the hall seemed to have become thicker. Even though Jun Haoyan's physical body was extremely strong, he still felt a chill. However, Jun Haoyan was not worried at all. With a thought, Jun Haoyan activated his divine body to the extreme. A gush of golden qi and blood surrounded his body and gave off an endless radiance. At this moment, every cell in Jun Haoyan's body gave off a divine radiance. After activating his physical body, no matter how thick the cold air in the hall was, Jun Haoyan did not feel cold at all. Sister. Looking at Jun Moyo, who was in the center of the hall, Jun Haoyan walked over slowly and spoke softly. However, after Jun Haoyan spoke, Jun Moyo, who was in the center of the hall, did not respond. Jun Haoyan sensed carefully and did not feel a trace of vitality from Jun Moyo. What's going on? At this moment, Jun Haoyan panicked and hurriedly walked toward Jun Moyo. The moment Jun Haoyan walked toward Jun Moyo, a large amount of blue light suddenly appeared in the hall. These blue lights were the stronger cold air currents. At this moment, these cold air currents were like gangrene attached to the bones, trying to enter Jun Haoyan's body through the pores all over Jun Haoyan's body. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan did not panic at all and directly activated his indestructible divine body. Buzz buzz. The vast spiritual essence was trembling, and the powerful aura turned into many immemorial celestial dragons. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was like an emperor, the ruler of the world. Just like this, under the immense power. Jun Haoyan walked out step by step and quickly came to Jun Moyo's side. No, this is not the real body. Just as Jun Haoyan walked to Jun Moyo's side, he finally discovered the abnormality of Jun Moyo's body. The Jun Moyo in front of him was not the real Jun Moyo at all. It was just an incarnation with Jun Moyo's aura. However, this incarnation technique was very exquisite, as if it was the real body. Boom. At this moment, the entire hall seemed to collapse. A powerful aura circulated, and all kinds of cold air currents swept out, as if they could freeze a large world. It was also at this moment that Jun Haoyan felt that the surrounding environment had completely changed. The entire world turned into a vast expanse of white. Between heaven and earth, there were only layers of ice and snowflakes left. Haoyan. A clear voice was heard. Jun Haoyan frowned. In front of him, Jun Moyo walked slowly wearing a blue dress. Whether it was in terms of aura or cultivation, the Jun Moyo in front of him was much stronger than before. It seemed. She was already close to the level of the fifth immortal realm. As expected of the clone of the goddess of 4 stars. She had only just awakened, but she was already so powerful. Then, how powerful was the real goddess of 4 stars? However, Jun Haoyan was not very moved by the Jun Moyo in front of him. Because he knew that this was not the real body. When you came to the small thunder temple and saw this body of mine, I was no longer in the Wuxian continent. What you see now is the incarnation that I condensed before I left. The Jun Moyo in front of him continued to speak, which surprised Jun Haoyan. Not in the Wuxian continent? Don't worry, the monks of the small thunder temple didn't do anything to me. I came here just to retrieve some things. After awakening the power in my body, I also began to awaken some memories. Although I can't confirm what these memories are, I feel that there is something very important waiting for me to do. Forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. I wanted to protect you. But you are far more outstanding than I imagined, so I know. Even without me, there is nothing in this world that can threaten you. At this moment, Jun Moyo kept talking. Jun Haoyan finally understood. This incarnation was a message that Jun Moyo had left him. It seemed that she had to leave early for some reason. And she was very anxious. And the purpose of this message was to tell Jun Haoyin not to worry about him. After Jun Moyo conveyed this message, this incarnation would naturally disappear. You don't have to worry about me. Sooner or later I will return to the Wuxian continent. No matter what I become in the future, I will still be the sister you know. Jun Moyo's incarnation continued to speak, telling Jun Haoyin not to worry. But there is one more thing you have to pay attention to. Before I left, I had a premonition that there would be a change in the Wuxian continent. At that time, all kinds of people from the 3,000 worlds might descend. It will be a great calamity. That will be a real calamity, and it will be very dangerous. I will come back to find you before the calamity arrives. Although I am not by your side, I have left you something. With that, Jun Moyo's body in front of him emitted a trace of light. That ray of light contained an extremely terrifying power and boundless aura. Especially when Jun Haoyin saw this light. He suddenly realized. The thing Jun Moyo left behind seemed to be somewhat similar to the wisp of primordial violet vapor he obtained from the Good Fortune Jade Disc. This is? Just as Jun Haoyin felt that it was strange, the blue light entered between his eyebrows. It was also at this moment. Jun Haoyin felt a terrifying aura appear in his mind. After this aura dissipated, a vast scripture appeared. And this scripture was not recorded in words. It was a pattern of snow lotuses. It was describing the principles of heaven and earth, as if it was describing the flow of time. And after Jun Haoyin felt all of this, he suddenly realized. Jun Moyo had left it for him. It was a peerless divine ability. It was called the Heavenly Heart Frost Technique. Although Jun Haoyin did not know the grade of this divine ability, he felt that it was definitely not inferior to the Supreme Emperor Technique. Especially when Jun Haoyin was reading the scripture in his mind. Every snow lotus pattern seemed to be frozen in the same world. And this scripture had a total of 3,000 snow lotus patterns. Chapter 193. These 3,000 snow lotus patterns represented the 3,000 worlds. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin no longer hesitated. He calmed his mind and began to comprehend the Sky Heart Frost Arrogance. This divine ability was indeed extraordinarily powerful. When Jun Haoyin came into contact with the first snow lotus pattern, he felt an extremely bone-chilling cold surge into his body. At this moment he felt as if all the blood in his body was about to freeze. Even the true essence in his Dantian Sea of Qi seemed to be frozen. In the past, Jun Haoyin would have had to spend a lot of time to cultivate this peerless mystique. But now there was no need for that. Therefore at this moment he had completely turned his Dantian Sea of Qi into a furnace. This cauldron could refine any kind of divine ability. It could even smelt Supreme Emperor techniques. Of course, the current furnace nourishing divine ability was not very perfect. Jun Haoyin himself was not very familiar with it. But even so, Jun Haoyin could still smelt this Skyheart Frost Arrogance. Even though Jun Moyu had left him this sacred art, it was still extremely powerful. But in the heaven-defying furnace in Jun Haoyin's body, it was still slowly smelted. However, the process was very slow. Jun Haoyin did not care much about this. The harder it was to smelt this Skyheart Frost Arrogance, it meant that this technique was very powerful. The power it could unleash would also be greater. Just like that, time passed bit by bit. After an unknown period of time, the first snow lotus pattern that Jun Haoyin comprehended had already begun to melt and fuse with his primordial spirit and body. At the same time, a shocking chill erupted from Jun Haoyin's body. Thick frost actually appeared in the void. This aura came from the same source as the cold aura that Jun Moyo exuded earlier. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's body was surrounded by cold aura. He was like the king of ice, freezing the world. Jun Haoyin felt that he could freeze the Yuan Qi in the air with just a thought. However, at that moment Jun Haoyin had only refined the first snow lotus pattern. If Jun Haoyin was able to successfully refine all of the snow lotus diagrams, what kind of terrifying power would he possess? Jun Haoyin couldn't even imagine it. Perhaps at that point he could really do as the Heavenly Heart Arrogant Cold Art said and freeze the entire 3,000 worlds. After comprehending the first snow lotus, Jun Haoyin also began to understand this sacred art. If he wanted to cultivate this divine ability to the highest level, or even to the most powerful realm, then he would need to cultivate it. Therefore he had to continuously melt the snow lotus pattern. Every time he smelted a piece of the snow lotus pattern, it would help Jun Haoyin improve his cultivation. Now Jun Haoyin had reached the peak of the first level of the primordial spirit transcendence realm. According to the power he had obtained from refining the first snow lotus, if he wanted to reach the second level of the transcendence realm, he would need to refine at least 5 more snow lotus patterns. At that time, his strength would increase tremendously. Thinking of this, Jun Haotian focused his mind and once again focused on cultivating the heavenly heart arrogant cold art. In his mind he couldn't help but recall what Jun Moyo had said earlier. She had said that soon the martial god continent would face a huge disaster. This was definitely a world-shaking disaster. Thinking of this, Jun Haotian couldn't help but think of the information he had read about the martial god continent. As early as hundreds of thousands of years ago, the martial god continent had always been ranked very high in the 3,000 worlds. In those few eras, the overall strength of the martial god continent was even more terrifying. They could even directly communicate with the divine world. However, for some unknown reason, the martial god continent would welcome a world-destroying calamity every once in a while. In hundreds of thousands of years, the martial god continent had already experienced 3 huge disasters. It was also because of these 3 world-shaking calamities that the martial god continent suffered countless casualties, and its ranking in the 3,000 worlds dropped rapidly. As the clone of the goddess of 4 stars, if she had such a feeling, then it was probably not far from the truth. Jun Haotian remembered that Jun Moyo had also mentioned that when the time came, even the experts from the 3,000 worlds would appear together. The martial god continent would probably be extremely chaotic and filled with danger at every turn. Even a top force that possessed a supreme artifact to suppress their luck would find it difficult to survive such a catastrophe. Faced with such a situation, there was only one thing Jun Haotian could do, and that was to increase his strength like crazy. If he wanted to have the ability to protect himself, he would have to at least reach the immortal realm. Besides, Jun Haotian also thought of Prince Jiao. Since he had killed the Fox Prince and Prince Jiao, the 9-headed serpent dragon and the Green Hill Fox clan would definitely not let this matter rest. Perhaps they had already started to act. Moreover, they were the 3 sacred grounds of the eastern wilderness. He had killed their holy son, and now he had killed their experts who had gone to the Linglong sacred ground for a birthday celebration. At this moment they would definitely want to get rid of him. Against such top forces they could easily find a reason to attack. Moreover, the 9-headed serpent dragon and the Green Hill Fox clan were the pillars of the divine demon continent. If these forces joined forces, even Tao Xian would not be able to protect himself. Moreover, he could not always stay under the protection of the Langya sacred ground. One day he would have enough strength to protect himself. The more dangerous the situation was, the more anxious and careful Jun Haotian became. Although he already had the 6 paths of reincarnation tablet, an ancient immortal weapon. Against the top forces, it was still not enough to protect him. At this thought, Jun Haotian felt even more anxious. Buzz. A moment later, the second snow lotus pattern was finally refined by Jun Haotian and completely merged with it. At this moment, Jun Haotian's strength increased again. After all, the Skyheart Frost Arrogance was a divine ability, not a divine medicine. It couldn't give him the terrifying energy that would allow him to level up. At this moment, Jun Haotian was already at the peak of the first level of the Transcendence realm. The energy needed to break through was extremely huge. Refining 5 snow lotus patterns would allow him to advance. That was terrifying enough. As long as I refine 3 more snow lotus patterns, my cultivation level will increase. Jun Haotian muttered to himself with a smile on his face. This was the divine ability that Jun Mou had left him. It was indeed extremely terrifying. Perhaps this technique could be used as a killing move. It would be unexpected. However, to completely refine the 3 snow lotus patterns, it would take at least 5 days. During this period of time, he could also do something else. At that moment, Jun Haotian was multitasking. On one hand, he let his primordial spirit sit cross-legged under the 7 treasures Bodhi tree. It increased the speed of his comprehension of the Skyheart Frost Arrogance. On the other hand, he activated the furnace in his body to refine the snow lotus patterns. Ding, the sign-in time has been refreshed. Would the host like to sign in? At this moment, the system's prompt sounded in Jun Haotian's mind. Chapter 2, Bell Without Beginning, Sign In. The world is big, but signing in is the most important. Without a trace of hesitation, Jun Haotian directly ordered. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Obtained the 9 secrets of the Supreme Being, secret word Do. Ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Obtained the bell without beginning. After hearing the system's voice, Jun Haotian's face suddenly revealed a hint of ecstasy. He never expected that today's lottery draw would actually have 2 rewards. Moreover, the rewards this time made him extremely excited. This time he actually obtained the 9 secrets of the Supreme Being, the secret word Do and the bell without beginning. Although Jun Haoyin had already learned one of the Supreme Being's 9 secrets. But one had to know that this kind of supreme secret technique created by the ancient celestial lords. Each of them had earth-shattering power. Every secret technique had reached the pinnacle in one direction. Jun Haoyin's previous check-in was the secret word All, which could increase his combat power by 10 times. The secret word Do, on the other hand, could increase his attack power and was also known as the Battle Saint technique. Those who learned the secret word Do could easily imitate all kinds of attack techniques. They could even be stronger than the opponents. It was simply terrifying. After learning the secret word Do, Jun Haoyin could confidently say that he was invincible in terms of the power of cultivation techniques. What was even more terrifying was that the secret word Do could be used on all kinds of supernatural powers to increase the power of the supernatural powers. Coupled with the secret word All, it could definitely be said to be extremely terrifying. After learning the secret word Do, Jun Haoyin could arrogantly make a declaration. Among all the geniuses in the world, only I, Jun Haoyin, am the strongest. After learning the secret word Do, even in the entire Trichiliacosm, Jun Haoyin could be said to be invincible among the same level. From now on, even if he didn't use any treasures, Jun Haoyin could fight against an immortal realm powerhouse with just his own supernatural powers. A supreme 9 secrets had increased Jun Haoyin's strength by more than several times. However, what made Jun Haoyin even more ecstatic was the Bell of No Beginning. This Bell of No Beginning was a supreme artifact. A supreme artifact. At this moment, Jun Haoyin was shocked to the extreme. Not only did he get 2 rewards from signing in this time. Moreover, the 2 rewards were actually so heaven-defying. The second reward was actually a supreme artifact. Moreover, it was the famous Bell of No Beginning. One had to know that in the original work. This was a peerless divine weapon refined by an unparalleled celestial emperor. Terrifying and powerful. If it was completely resurrected, it would definitely be able to kill a supreme being. The emperor's bell rang. It could shake the heavens and wipe out all living beings. Just like that unparalleled celestial emperor. He could suppress everything and cover an entire generation. He could achieve an unparalleled realm with heaven-defying talent. This kind of divine weapon was personally refined by an unparalleled, peerless existence. Naturally, it was extremely terrifying. Now that he had this supreme weapon, Jun Haoyin finally had the confidence to fight. With this Bell of No Beginning, he could really do whatever he wanted in the martial god continent. Even if he was facing an old antique in the Emperor realm, he would dare to fight with the Bell of No Beginning in his hand. As a supreme artifact, the Bell of No Beginning was not something that Langya's mountain and river diagram and Nine Heavens' exquisite palace could compare to. The Bell of No Beginning was a true supreme artifact. It was a pity that Jun Haoyin was too weak at the moment. The Bell of No Beginning was strong. However, it also needed the strength to resurrect it in order to display the true power of the Bell of No Beginning. Of course, even if Jun Haoyin could not completely resurrect the Bell of No Beginning at the moment. However, with Jun Haoyin's Transcendence Realm cultivation, he could still revive the Bell of No Beginning. From there, he could display a trace of the power of a supreme artifact. In the future, this terrifying supreme artifact, the Bell of No Beginning, would become Jun Haoyin's core trump card. Unless it was a last resort, Jun Haoyin would never expose the existence of the Bell of No Beginning. However, for those of the same age, they were not enough to make Jun Haoyin use his supreme artifact. If some old undying existences came out to suppress him, then Jun Haoyin would definitely not show any mercy. He did not mind using the Bell of No Beginning to kill a group of old immortals. This check-in could be said to be a fruitful one. Jun Haoyin's strength could be said to have undergone a tremendous change. However, Jun Haoyin did not become complacent or arrogant because of this. He always understood that external objects were still external objects. In the end, they were just external objects. Only by constantly increasing one's strength was the way to go. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyin focused his mind and began to comprehend the battle's secret character. As for the Bell of No Beginning, Jun Haoyin placed it in the system space. As long as he willed it, he could summon the Bell of No Beginning at any time. Then Jun Haoyin divided his divine soul power into 3. This method was absolutely impossible for ordinary people. Because just the battle secret character alone was enough for even an expert of the immortal 5th stage to comprehend. Not to mention there was also the Heavenly Heart Frost Arrogance, a Supreme Emperor technique. These 2 were both Supreme Emperor techniques, and each of them required a lot of time to comprehend. However, Jun Haoyin was different. He had the world's #1 spiritual root, the 7 treasures Bodhi tree. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's divine soul was sitting under the seven treasures Bodhi tree with a solemn expression. A power that contained great wisdom and comprehension spread out. In this state, no matter how complicated the technique was, it could not escape his primordial spirit's deduction and comprehension. After all, the seven treasures Bodhi tree was the #1 spiritual root in the martial god continent. How could the supreme mystery it contained be so simple? At this moment, in the minor Lane Temple's great strength hall, the abbot, divine monk Fa Hai, was sitting on a futon chanting scriptures. They were comprehending the scriptures that Jun Haoyan had chanted earlier. This scripture seemed to have allowed the entire minor Lane Temple to discover a new Buddhist mystery. At this moment, everyone in the hall had their eyes closed and were comprehending seriously. However, at this moment, divine monk Fa Hai suddenly opened his eyes. Master Fa Hai stood up and ordered the others to continue cultivating. Then he turned into a ray of Buddhist light and disappeared on the spot. In the next moment he appeared in a side hall of the minor Lane Temple. In front of him, divine monk Xuanzang frowned and looked uneasy. What's going on? Seeing this, divine monk Fa Hai asked directly. Monks abstained from greed, anger and foolishness. Divine monk Xuanzang was the eldest disciple of the head monk, and his Buddhist skills were profound. Under normal circumstances he would not show such an expression. When Xuanzang saw divine monk Xuanzang, he immediately took a step forward. He looked solemn and said anxiously, "Something big has happened in the eastern wilderness. There are rumors everywhere that the holy son of Haoyan has fallen into the demon path. Right now, the 9-headed divine dragon clan, Green Hill Fox clan, Green Cloud Sacred Ground, Luotian Sacred Ground and Wavering Light Sacred Ground. The 5 forces are suppressing the Langya Sacred Ground and spreading the news that they are going to eliminate the demon path. Now the entire eastern wilderness is in chaos." Divine monk Fa Hai's expression changed drastically when he heard divine monk Xuanzang's words. Chapter 194. Now the entire eastern wasteland is in chaos. When they heard this sentence from Xuanzang's mouth, even one of the 3 abbot of the western desert, divine monk Fa Hai, turned pale with fright. This news was really too shocking. The 3 holy lands of the eastern wasteland, the 2 great demon clans of the southern border. They actually collectively declared that the holy son of Haoyan had fallen into the demonic path. Now they actually mobilized so many people. They collectively put pressure on the Langya Holy Land, and in the name of eliminating demons and defending the Tao. What kind of eliminating demons and defending the Tao was this? Hearing this news, divine monk Fa Hai couldn't help but want to laugh. In divine monk Fa Hai's heart, in this world, anyone would fall into the demonic path. Only the holy son of Haoyan would not fall into the demonic path. He had seen it with his own eyes. The holy son of Haoyan recited the Mahayana Dharma in the debate hall. How could such an existence be a person who had fallen into the demonic path? He remembered it clearly. The Mahayana Dharma recited by the holy son of Haoyan. However, he had obtained the approval of the true Buddha and was enveloped by the Buddha's light and endless auspicious aura. He was even blessed by the auspicious beasts and the Buddha's light. Such an existence. If the holy son of Haoyan agreed, he could become the Buddha of Buddhism at any time. The holy son of Haoyan had fallen into the demonic path? Divine monk Fa Hai only felt that this news was too ridiculous. As everyone knew, the cultivation method of Buddhism was different from the cultivation method of other people on the continent. No. It should be said that the cultivation method of the Elysium continent, the birthplace of Buddhism, was different from the cultivation method of other continents. In terms of cultivation attributes, the power of Buddhism's cultivation, it could be said to be the opposite of the demonic path. It was as if they were born to counter each other. Buddhism and the demonic path had always been incompatible. Since ancient times, except for an anomaly 50,000 years ago, the demonic path and the Buddhist path had always been 2 different forms. With the holy son of Haoyan's unparalleled attainments in Buddhism, how could he fall into the demonic path? Xuanzang, what's going on? Divine monk Fa Hai's Dharma was profound. He quickly calmed down and asked divine monk Xuanzang. Since he had already determined that the holy son of Haoyan would never fall into the demonic path, then the rumors in the east must be planted by someone. This was something that divine monk Fa Hai could not tolerate. If it was before Jun Haoyan recited the Mahayana Buddhist Dharma, divine monk Fa Hai might not interfere in this matter. However, at this moment Jun Haoyan was chanting the Mahayana Dharma. He already had the qualifications to become the Arhat. Divine Monk Fai had no choice but to pay attention to such an existence. Xuanzang began to explain after hearing what Fai said. Some time ago, a sect in the mortal world was slaughtered and their flesh and blood were completely devoured. Originally this wasn't a big deal, but as time passed, more and more things like this happened. That was when the Holy Son of Haoyin rose to power. So, there was a rumor that the Holy Son of Haoyin had already practiced the demonic arts and had fallen into the demonic path. The reason why his cultivation rose so quickly was because he devoured the flesh and blood of others. After listening to Xuanzang, Divine Monk Fai was enlightened. It was obvious that someone was trying to frame the Holy Son of Haoyin. It was likely that those who had their flesh and blood devoured were also arranged by the mastermind behind the scenes. Divine Monk Fai was almost certain. The mastermind behind these things must be from the 5 great forces that were invading the Langya Holy Ground. In fact, using such a method was very clumsy. But there was no other way. The mastermind behind this matter. It was the alliance of the 5 top forces on the Wuxian continent. The energy contained in this. It was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. If such a force wanted to join forces and frame a person, could be said that it was easy. Especially for a prodigy like the Holy Son of Haoyin, who had not been famous for long on the continent. As everyone knew, the Holy Son of Haoyin had reached his current level in an extremely short period of time. The number 1 person in the eastern wilderness. He was as famous as the Kunlun Holy Ground. Such an honor was accomplished in a short span of a year. It had to be said that this was indeed surprising. Of course, whether the Holy Son of Haoyin really practiced the demonic arts and fell into the demonic path. The 5 great forces did not care about this point. What they cared about was how many people would respond to their rumors. No matter what the identity of the Holy Son of Haoyin was. What they needed was just a reason to attack Jun Haoyin. Since ancient times, the rules and the right to speak. It had always been in the hands of the strong. The 5 great forces are suppressing the Langya Holy Ground. Did they say when? A trace of contemplation flashed through his eyes. After a moment, Divine Monk Fai asked. After all, the Langya Holy Ground was one of the 7 great holy lands of the human race. If the 5 great holy lands wanted to attack the Langya Holy Ground, they would not be so rash. They would definitely be careful. They spread the news just to stir up the water. To spread the news that the Holy Son of Haoyin had fallen into the demonic path. To let more people know about this matter. When the Holy Son of Haoyin became the target of public criticism, the devil of everyone on the continent. That was the time for them to attack. At that time, they would truly stand on the side of righteousness and crusade against the devil, the Holy Son of Haoyin. Moreover, Divine Monk Fai could guess. The 5 great holy lands should have a way to deal with the supreme weapon of the Langya Holy Ground. Otherwise they would not provoke the Langya Holy Ground so brazenly. Divine Monk Fai could almost imagine that the day of the battle would be a peerless battle. A great disaster. It should be in 7 days. Hearing Divine Monk Fai's words, Divine Monk Xuanzang immediately replied. On that day the 5 great forces declared that if they do not hand over the Holy Son of Haoyin in 7 days, they would represent the entire eastern wilderness and crusade against the Langya Holy Ground. It was obvious that the main target of the 5 great forces was the Holy Son of Haoyin. They did this to put pressure on the Langya Holy Ground. After all, from the looks of it, the only one who wanted to protect the Holy Son of Haoyin was the Holy Lord of Langya, Tao Xian. As for the other higher-ups of the Holy Ground, no one knew what they were thinking. The 5 great forces were using endless pressure to make the higher-ups of the Langya Holy Ground take the initiative to call the Holy Son of Haoyin out. Although Divine Monk Fai was not involved in worldly affairs, he was wise enough to see everything clearly. At this moment, Divine Monk Fai was a little worried about the Holy Son of Haoyin. Would the entire Langya Holy Ground really protect the Holy Son of Haoyin at all costs? In this situation even Divine Monk Fai was not sure. Master, is the Holy Son of Haoyin still inside? Divine Monk Xuanzang looked at the main hall where Jun Haoyin was and asked slowly. That day, Jun Moyo left something for Jun Haoyin. Some of the higher-ups of the Small Thunder Temple knew about this. But what exactly did he leave behind? No one knew what was going on. After all, the strength that Jun Moyo displayed that day was too terrifying. No one in the Small Thunder Temple dared to provoke him. Yes, the Holy Son of Haoyin is still in seclusion. Hearing this, Divine Monk Fai frowned and put his palms together. In Divine Monk Fai's heart, he actually did not want Jun Haoyin to get involved in this mess. He was even looking forward to Jun Haoyin's seclusion this time. It would be best if it lasted for a few years. When he came out, everything would be calm. But Divine Monk Fahai was a monk. Naturally, he knew that nothing could be forced. If Jun Haoyin could come out before the 5 great forces suppressed the Langya holy ground, this was also his fate. Keep a close eye on it. When the holy son of Haoyin comes out, inform me immediately. Divine Monk Fahai said to Xuanzang and then slowly left. No matter what. These things were all about the eastern wilderness. It had nothing to do with the western desert. He could not interfere too much. Xuanzang put his palms together and bowed slightly. Yes, master. At this moment, in a main hall of the small thunder temple, Jun Haoyin closed his eyes tightly. In his body, the Abhijna of the 100 scriptures of nurturing was circulating crazily. It seemed to be able to smelt all Abhijnas. Even in Jun Haoyin's mind, the supreme scripture of the 3,000 snow lotuses pattern could not escape. At this moment, the 5th snowflake pattern in Jun Haoyin's body had finally been successfully smelted. At the same time, Jun Haoyin's primordial spirit had been sitting cross-legged under the 7 treasures Bodhi tree. At this moment he also opened his eyes. All kinds of abstruse and mysterious auras were emitted from Jun Haoyin's body. In addition to the aura contained in the Abhijnas from before, there was also a cold aura that was like an ice hell. He slowly stood up. His body was surrounded by golden light. His primordial spirit body, which was originally 1.9 inches long, instantly grew to 2 inches. Boom. Finally, the surging aura in Jun Haoyin's body shook. The pores all over his body swallowed and spat out a huge amount of essence. The giant elephant cells in his body were all at this moment. They burst out with a resplendent light. It intertwined with the golden chi and blood. The scene of the giant elephant carrying the sun and stepping on the eternal hell formed a terrifying phenomenon. It was also at this moment that the 840,000 giant elephant seeds suddenly awakened. Jun Haoyin's strength had completely broken through to the 2nd level of the Dharma characteristic realm. Chapter 2, Leaving Seclusion, Reaching the Dharma characteristic realm. When a warrior reached the Dharma characteristic realm, every time his cultivation increased by 1 level, his primordial spirit would grow by 1 inch. When the primordial spirit reached 10 inches, it meant that the warrior had reached the perfected Dharma characteristic realm. Once the primordial spirit reached this level, it would completely merge with the physical body. At this moment, the warrior would undergo a metamorphosis. Under the effect of the primordial spirit, the warrior's physical body would retreat from the mortal body. It would exist in another form of life. And this form of life was called the 5 immortal realms. As long as one was in the immortal realm, their lifespan would be 10,000 years. They were also known as the true giants of history. Of course, the current Jun Haoyin was still a little far from that realm. But with his current cultivation speed, it would not be long before he reached that realm. As Jun Haoyin's cultivation broke through, the giant elephant seeds in his body began to continue to awaken. The endless cells in his body began to vibrate violently. In just a few breaths, the giant elephant seeds in Jun Haoyin's body reached 990,000. This had already reached Jun Haoyin's peak state in the 2nd level of the Dharma characteristic realm. With the awakening of a large number of giant elephant seeds, Jun Haoyin's vital essence and physical body naturally received great benefits. In addition, Jun Haoyin's primordial spirit also grew. It had already reached 2 inches and 9/10. This was already the strongest state that a 2nd level Dharma characteristic realm primordial spirit could reach. Judging from the current situation, from now on, every time Jun Haoyin had a breakthrough, he would directly reach the peak state. This situation was definitely beyond everyone's expectations. Moreover, there was also the greatest benefit. That was the awakening power of the giant elephant seeds in Jun Haoyin's body had all merged into his physical body. It had all been absorbed by his physical body. After obtaining such terrifying energy, even Jun Haoyin's saint body had received great benefits. At this moment, the golden blood chi in Jun Haoyin's body had already begun to change. It was a color that was intertwined with red and gold. It was like a crystal. It exuded a powerful and terrifying aura. This aura was like that of a god, filled with dignity. At this moment, Jun Haoyin also understood in his heart. As long as he transformed all the blood in his body into a red crystal state, that would be the time when he successfully advanced to a divine body. Divine body. This was the strongest physique that had appeared so far in the martial god continent. With a divine body, one would definitely be able to become a supreme existence in the Emperor realm. Moreover, once it transformed into a divine body, it would unlock the treasures of the physical body. That was a true level of cultivation of the physical body to the extreme. At that time, his internal organs would also undergo a metamorphosis. It would have a terrifying power comparable to an artifact. Of course, it was also extremely difficult to transform into a divine body. For the current Jun Haoyan, according to his current speed of evolution, it would take at least 10 years. Of course, Jun Haoyan could still wait for this amount of time. Now, his sacred body's physical body was enough for him to use. With the many Supreme Emperor techniques and Supreme artifacts in his hands, and other terrifying trump cards, he could definitely protect himself. At this moment, Jun Haoyan felt the power in his body, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. However, this power was not very stable at the moment. It still needed to be continuously transformed and condensed. Otherwise it would be like a loft in the sky. Although it looked good, it could easily collapse. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan began to calm his mind and temper the power in his body with all his strength. At the same time, in his mind, the comprehension of the battle secret was still ongoing. This time he must comprehend the battle character secret art to the limit. This was known as the strongest offensive technique, and he was very tempted. Soon time passed quickly and 5 days passed in a flash. And in these 5 days, Jun Haoyan naturally had a great harvest. Not only did he consolidate his physical body, vital essence, and primordial spirit, he had also completely mastered the things he had obtained from signing in this time. Especially the no-beginning bell in Jun Haoyan's hand. According to his senses, the no-beginning bell had been awakened by him to a certain extent. He could already summon the will of the no-beginning bell's owner. That was the will of that peerless celestial emperor. That will. Not only could it unleash a powerful combat strength, it could also replace Jun Haoyan to directly control the supreme artifact. It could erupt with the true power of a supreme artifact. Of course, the current Jun Haoyan was still unable to reach that level. If he wanted to reach that level, he would need unimaginable energy. Even if he exhausted all the treasures on Jun Haoyan's body, he wouldn't be able to do it. Then Jun Haoyan threw away the distracting thoughts in his mind and stopped thinking about this matter. He slowly stood up and looked around the main hall. At this moment there was no longer Jun Moyo's aura in the main hall. After Jun Haoyan received the inheritance left behind by Jun Moyo, that aura completely disappeared. Even the incarnation had disappeared along with it. As for Jun Moyo's main body, it was as she said. At this moment he was no longer in the martial god continent. Jun Haoyan firmly believed that one day he would see Jun Moyo again. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan didn't hesitate and directly opened the door of the main hall. Creak. The ancient door opened wide and made a heavy sound. Divine Monk Xuanzang? You've been waiting for me? When he opened the door, Jun Haoyan suddenly realized. Xuanzang had been standing at the door. He seemed to have waited for a long time. When the latter saw his figure, there was a trace of surprise in his eyes. Because the current Jun Haoyan, he was even stronger than he had seen a few days ago. His strength was also more restrained. However, he thought of Divine Monk Fa Hai's words and immediately said, Holy Son of Haoyan, Master invites you over. I have something important to say. Something important? Hearing this, Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes slightly. He immediately nodded. At least since he entered the small thunder temple. Divine Monk Fa Hai didn't lie to him. Then the two of them left together. They headed to where Divine Monk Fa Hai was. The 5 major forces have joined forces? Claim that I have fallen into the demonic path and suppressed the Langya sacred ground in 2 days. At this moment, in a hall of the small thunder temple, Jun Haoyan looked at Divine Monk Fa Hai in front of him and slowly spoke. His tone was cold and his white robe kept fluttering, although there was a sense of transcendence. But there was also the aura of a domineering emperor. Especially after hearing the news from Divine Monk Fa Hai. This terrifying aura was even stronger. Indeed. Xuanzang also spoke, his eyes slightly lowered. At that moment, Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes. He knew that the 5 major forces would definitely make a move on him. But he never thought that it would be in this way. They were forcing him. Forcing the Langya sacred ground. The older generation made a move, which was against the tacit rules of the martial god continent. So they came up with the excuse of eliminating demons and defending the Tao. Could they make a move just like that? What a joke. Of course. This excuse of the 5 major forces. Anyone from the major forces could see it. But in fact, sometimes this was what was needed. Just like how 2 countries wanted to go to war but couldn't find the reason. Then they would create the reason themselves. Framing and framing. This war would naturally start. It wasn't very smart. But it was extremely practical. Jun Haoyan smiled. He knew that the demon race wouldn't have such thoughts. It must be the idea of the three sacred grounds. Benefactor, actually, you can choose not to return to the Langya sacred ground. At this moment, Divine Monk Fahai spoke. His face was full of mercy, very sincere and certain. If you stay and be the Arhat of the small thunder temple, even the 5 major forces can't do anything to you. This sentence contained a huge amount of confidence. Although the 3 major temples of the Western Desert couldn't be said to face it together. But the Arhat was a Buddhist. The Vajra Temple and the Shenkong Temple wouldn't sit idly by. If they joined forces, protecting Jun Haoyan wouldn't be a problem at all. Chapter 195. No matter what force it was, if they wanted to start a war with Buddhism, all of them had to weigh their own strength. In the Trichiliacosm, Buddhism was one of the most powerful sections. Almost every world, there were monks in all of them. These Buddhist disciples were scattered all over the continents. If they were called upon, they would all unite. The entire Trichiliacosm would cause a huge earthquake. This was not just the foundation of a large force. Buddhism, since ancient times, it had always belonged to the great sects. Over countless years, the power accumulated was enough to shock the world. Moreover, Buddhism was different from other sects such as Taoism and Confucianism. The Buddhist disciples had unimaginable cohesion. The forces of Buddhism had never been divided. Thousands of Buddhist disciples all belonged to Buddhism. With just a call, the Buddhist disciples could unite. Such a terrifying cohesion. There was no one who was not afraid. Therefore, Fahai dared to guarantee that he would protect Jun Haoyan from the 5 major forces. This was not because he was arrogant, but because he had the strength. It was just that Fahai God Source had good intentions. Jun Haoyan could only let him down. Hearing Fahai God Source's words, Jun Haoyan's face was not moved at all. He said with a smile, "Thank you for your good intentions, Divine Monk. However, as a disciple of Langya, now that Langya is in trouble, how can I escape? Although I'm not a man, the Holy Land has taken me well. The Holy Land is in trouble because of me. I have to go back." Jun Haoyan's tone was sonorous and firm. He knew in his heart. This time, the 5 major forces were threatening the Langya Holy Land. They were probably here for him. But so what? In the face of enemies, he had never retreated. At this moment, Jun Haoyan truly displayed the demeanor of a peerless genius. This boldness and determination. Immediately, it made Fahai Divine Monk and Shen Pin Divine Monk look sideways. They looked at Jun Haoyan in front of them. They no longer looked at him as a young genius. At this moment, Jun Haoyan had already begun to have the aura of an overlord of a generation. This attitude. This unparalleled boldness. At this moment, the 2 divine monks, Fahai and Fahai, who were standing in front of Jun Haoyan, could clearly feel it. Since the Holy Son of Haoyan has made up his mind, there is no need for me to say anything more. Seeing Jun Haoyan's insistence, Divine Monk Fahai could only reveal a trace of helplessness and put his palms together. In front of Jun Haoyan, Fahai's attitude was humble. But it also showed the awareness of a Buddhist monk of a generation. After that, Divine Monk Fahai opened his mouth again and said, "Before the Holy Sun leaves, I would like to give you something." As he spoke, Fahai's expression was incomparably solemn. "What is it?" Hearing this, Jun Haoyan raised his eyebrows, revealing a trace of curiosity. Under Jun Haoyan's curious gaze, the Supreme Monk Fahai slowly raised his right hand. In the next moment, a strong Buddhist light emerged from Monk Fahai's palm. At the same time, golden lotuses bloomed one after another, and the chanting of ancient Buddhist scriptures resounded in the air. Then the entire hall was enveloped by the Buddhist light. That huge amount of energy trembled along with it. Jun Haoyan opened his eyes slightly and saw a Saraira appear in Divine Monk Fahai's palm. This Saraira was like a transparent amber, engraved with Buddhist lotuses and auspicious clouds. Among them there were 18 Buddhist Bantis. The Buddhist charm that was revealed was extremely terrifying. Seeing this Saraira, Divine Monk Xuanzang's expression changed. He did not expect his master to give this Saraira to the Holy Son of Haoyan. This Saraira is called the Great Salvation Infinite Saraira of the 18 Bantis. It is one of the most precious treasures of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple. It is supported by the mind power of the 18 previous Nalanda Temple abbots before they passed away. It contains a huge amount of energy. Once used, you can directly obtain the power of a major realm. However, this can only last for 18 incense sticks time. Divine Monk Fahai said slowly, then handed the Saraira to Jun Haoyan. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was shocked. The Lesser Thunderclap Temple gave such a precious treasure to him just like that. Thinking back to when Divine Monk Fa Hai invited him to be the Arhat of the Lesser Thunderclap Temple, Jun Haoyan suddenly had some thoughts in his mind. However, just as Jun Haoyan was about to speak, Divine Monk Fa Hai interrupted him. Monk Fa Hai interrupted him directly, "Saint Son of Vast Sky, this is a token of my appreciation. Please accept it. Although you are unwilling to join the Buddhist sect, you are still fated to join us. Take this Saraira as a sign of good karma between me and the Holy Sun. In the future, if the Lesser Thunderclap Temple is in trouble, I hope the Holy Sun can lend a helping hand." Divine Monk Fa Hai's words carried a deeper meaning. Hearing Divine Monk Fa Hai's words, Jun Haoyan was stunned, then nodded in understanding. He naturally understood Divine Monk Fa Hai's words. To put it bluntly, Divine Monk Fa Hai was making an investment. He valued his own potential. He believed that if he could survive this calamity, he would be able to survive. In the future, he would definitely become one of the top experts in the martial god continent. If he formed today's good karma. In the future, when Jun Haoyan reached the peak, the Lesser Thunderclap Temple would also be under his glory. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan couldn't help but think clearly. He happily took the Saraira from Divine Monk Fa Hai's hand. In the future, there will definitely be rewards. Looking at Divine Monk Fa Hai, Jun Haoyan said in a serious tone. This could be considered a promise to Divine Monk Fa Hai. This time, Jun Haoyan was going to go back and face the oppression of the five great forces. Even though his strength had already reached the Transcendence realm. But facing those giants, his strength was still not enough. And now, this Saraira could actually help him increase his strength by a realm. With his Transcendence realm strength, he could increase his strength to the Immortal realm. This strength would increase by at least 10 times. Although it was only for 18 incense sticks. But it was enough. During this period of time, it was enough for him to kill everyone. However, according to the Divine Monk's explanation, every time this Saraira was used, it needed to be replenished with energy before it could be used again. However, this was also very normal. Otherwise, wouldn't the person who held this Saraira be able to advance by a large realm at any time? Of course, there was a limit to this Saraira's increase in strength. For an Immortal Realm expert, this Saraira wouldn't work, because the gap between the Immortal Realm and the Emperor Realm was too big. It wasn't something that could be reduced by relying on external objects. This old monk is waiting for the Holy Son of Haoyan to become famous in the Eastern Wilderness. Looking at Jun Haoyan, a smile appeared on Divine Monk Fa Hai's face. Then he put his palms together and looked solemn. Beside him, Divine Monk Xuanzang also put his palms together. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan nodded. Then he bade farewell to the two of them and left the Little Thunder Temple. According to the current time, the five great forces would threaten Langya Holy Land. There were less than 2 days left. But at this moment he was still in the Western Desert. Even if he went all out, it would still take 3 days. If that was the case, then Langya Holy Land would have to hold on for a day. No one would know what would happen on that day. This was the Western Desert. Buddhists had never studied arrays and the like. Therefore, in the entire Western Desert there was basically no array. Master, is this the calamity of the Holy Son of Haoyan this time? After Jun Haoyan left, Xuanzang looked at Divine Monk Fa Hai beside him with a trace of worry on his face. When Jun Haoyan recited the Mahayana Buddhist Dharma, Xuanzang had already regarded Jun Haoyan as a member of the Buddhist sect. Moreover, Xuanzang admired Jun Haoyan very much. Let nature take its course. Hearing Divine Monk Xuanzang's words, Divine Monk Fa Hai's expression didn't change at all. He didn't seem to be worried that Jun Haoyan would be in danger at all. Jun Moyo's background is amazing. I will leave him a trump card. Together with the 18 Venerables' great salvation immeasurable Saraira, it is enough for the Holy Son of Haoyan to deter the world. Speaking of this, Divine Monk Fa Hai sighed slightly. In some ancient books of the Buddhist sect, every once in a while the Wuxian continent would suffer a great calamity. Even the Western Desert was no exception. He was already very old and his flesh and blood had dried up. If the calamity came, he might not be able to protect the small Thunder Temple. Therefore, Divine Monk Fa Hai placed his hope in the future. He placed it all on Jun Haoyan. Because he had a premonition. This was the best choice. This was a great calamity. The strange creature from the Western Desert 50,000 years ago was bound to reappear. He had to be prepared in advance. Thinking of this, Divine Monk Fa Hai sighed slightly. Then he walked into the main hall with divine monk Xuanzang. At this moment, Jun Haoyin was rushing towards the Langya sacred ground. He unfolded the divine wings of freedom and flew up, breaking through the 9 heavens energy in the void. With a flap of the wings he was thousands of miles away. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Eastern Wilderness. Langya Sacred Ground. In the Langya Sacred Ground. At this moment, Tao Xian was sitting in the main hall. His body was motionless and the aura around him was terrifying. As his eyes opened and closed, golden light could be vaguely seen flowing. At this moment, Tao Xian seemed to be more powerful than before. In front of Tao Xian were the supreme elders of the Langya sacred ground. All of them had their eyes closed and their auras were extremely grand. Today, all the supreme elders of the Langya sacred ground were gathered here. No matter if they were in seclusion. No matter if they were traveling outside. At this moment, they had all returned to the sacred ground and gathered here. There were a total of 9 supreme elders of the Langya sacred ground. Each of them was an ancient powerhouse of the immortal realm. Because of the 5 major forces, the Langya sacred ground was now in the center of a storm. Are you sure that the Holy Sun went to the Western Desert Buddhist sect? At this moment Tao Xian spoke slowly, his voice loud. In front of Tao Xian, Feng Xiaoyao, Dugubo and the others all bowed. At this moment they stood in the main hall with an extremely respectful attitude. That's right. Hearing this, Feng Xiaoyao slowly said, that day before the Holy Sun left the Linglong sacred ground, he said that he would go to the small Lane temple. Moreover, the mark that the Holy Sun left on me did not disappear, which means that the Holy Sun is still safe. Feng Xiaoyao slowly explained what happened that day. Hearing Feng Xiaoyao's words, Tao Xian slowly nodded. At this moment, Tao Xian hoped that Jun Haoyin would not leave the Western Desert for a while. As long as Jun Haoyin stayed in the Western Desert, the 5 major forces of the Eastern Wilderness would not be a threat to him. Jun Haoyin stayed in the Western Desert. I hope that the Holy Sun did not receive the news that the Langya sacred ground is about to be besieged. At this moment one of the supreme elders spoke. This person was Jun Moyo's master. He naturally admired Jun Haoyin very much. His thoughts were the same as Tao Xian's. He did not want to rush back to the Langya sacred ground while Jun Haoyin was here. Elders, this time the 5 major forces have joined forces to attack the Langya sacred ground. What do you think? Looking at the supreme elders in the main hall, Tao Xian slowly asked. What do I think? Aha, how dare they bully the Langya sacred ground? I will not tolerate it. At this moment one of the supreme elders spoke directly. His tone was full of anger. That's right, the Langya sacred ground has been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. So what if the 5 major forces have joined forces? Another elder chimed in. His aura was extremely terrifying. He was almost on par with Tao Xian. In the entire Langya sacred ground, apart from Tao Xian, this supreme elder was the strongest. In the face of the attack from the 5 major forces, this supreme elder was still full of confidence. The 5 major forces spread rumors that the Holy Son of Hao Tian had fallen into the path of demons and attacked the Langya sacred ground in the name of eliminating demons. This is absolutely intolerable. Only a bunch of clowns can come up with such a ridiculous reason. But that kid Hao Tian is really something. Killing the Holy Son of the 3 major sacred grounds is not enough. Even killed Prince Jiao and Prince Fox. Then the remaining supreme elders also spoke. They were extremely disdainful of the despicable actions of the 5 major forces. At the same time, they were also amazed by the rapid improvement of Jun Haoyin's strength. In their eyes, this generation's Holy Son of Hao Tian. He was comparable to the Holy Son of Langya, Baiming Han of 30,000 years ago. The Holy Son of Langya, Baiming Han. He was the eternal pride of the Langya sacred ground. Perhaps in the eyes of some supreme elders, the current Jun Haoyin had completely surpassed Baiming Han of the past. At this moment, although Jun Haoyin was not the true number 1 prodigy of the Eastern Wilderness, however he had killed Prince Jiao. It was enough to shock the entire continent. If not for the fact that this generation's Holy Son of Kunlun was too monstrous. Jun Haoyin had never fought with the Holy Son of Kunlun before. The title of the number 1 prodigy of the Eastern Wilderness. It had already fallen on top of Jun Haoyin's head. Everyone, it's better to be careful. This time the 5 major forces have obviously come prepared. They must have made sufficient preparations. That's right. The 3 sacred grounds also have supreme weapons. Moreover, it said that Demon King Jiao is a world king. That's right. In this battle we must not let our guard down. We must go all out. Following that, another Supreme Elder spoke up with a pensive look on his face. They were not afraid of the alliance of the 5 major forces. However, no matter what, the 5 major forces had joined forces. This force could not be underestimated. That's right. Just as the Supreme Elders were discussing, Tao Xian suddenly spoke. At this moment, Tao Xian slowly rose to his feet. A sharp and terrifying aura suddenly swept through the hall. Feeling this aura, everyone shut their mouths. How was the seclusion? The battle this time? Everything was decided by the Holy Lord of Langya, Tao Xian himself. The 5 major forces have obviously come prepared this time. We must be prepared. In the face of the 5 major forces' coercion, my attitude is to fight to the end. I don't care what kind of trouble the Holy Son of Haotian has caused outside. Ever since he became the Holy Son of the Langya Sacred Ground, he will forever be the Holy Son of the Langya Sacred Ground. Now, our Holy Son has been slandered by a group of villains. We cannot tolerate this. I must seek justice for the Holy Son of Haotian and clear his name. Standing in the hall, Tao Xian spoke with a solemn tone. His voice was very loud and clear, echoing throughout the entire Langya Sacred Ground. As the supreme leader of the Langya Sacred Ground, he was the strongest person. His words naturally solidified the thoughts in everyone's hearts. These people naturally included all of the Grand Elders. At this moment, everyone had decided to wage a decisive battle against the 5 major forces. They swore to defend the dignity of the Holy Son of Haotian to their deaths. This subordinate has something to report to the Holy Lord. Right at this moment, the Hall Masters of Migres Hall, Kayang Hall, Alioth Hall, and the others appeared outside the Langya Sacred Ground. They transformed into dazzling streaks of light that appeared within the hall. Holy Son, we've just received news that the 5 major forces have begun to move. They're only 15,000 kilometers away from the Holy Son. As soon as this news spread, all the Supreme Elders opened their eyes. For a time, a vast wave of pressure instantly suffused the entire sacred ground. Feng Xiaoyao and the others instantly turned ghastly pale when they sensed this aura. At this moment, their strength had already reached the Emperor realm. But at this moment they were facing 9 supreme experts at the immortal realm. If they were to release such a terrifying aura, it would be enough to easily crush a 5,000 kilometers city. If they weren't disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground, they would have been crushed into pieces by now. When he heard this, Tao Xian secretly narrowed his eyes and released the energy of his soul. 15,000 kilometers away. It was only an instant for the members of the 5 major forces. But he knew. It was impossible for the 5 major forces to appear directly. There were still 2 hours before the deadline. They wouldn't be in a hurry. But no matter what, the final battle would still begin. Since that's the case, let's fight. After that, Tao Xian spoke and took the lead to walk out of the hall. The 9 Supreme Elders. The 7 Hall Masters. They walked out in unison. They stood behind Tao Xian. There was no fear. In the next moment, everyone arrived at the training grounds at the center of the Langya Sacred Ground. Here, hundreds of thousands of disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground were gathered here. Labor disciples, outer disciples, inner disciples, core disciples, and elite disciples. They were all here. As one of the 7 major sacred grounds of the human race. There were hundreds of thousands of disciples in the sacred ground. This was a foundation and a terrifying inheritance. At this moment, Tao Xian stood in the air and looked down at all the disciples below. The 5 major forces are madly smearing the name of the Holy Son of Great Heaven and framing me for falling into the demonic path. Now they're even working together to suppress the Langya Sacred Ground in 2 hours. Those who don't want to fight, step out. In the name of the Sacred Lord, I hereby decree that we will not pursue this matter. At this moment, Tao Xian's voice spread throughout the Langya Sacred Ground. It also rang in the ears of all the disciples. This decision was made by Tao Xian and a group of Supreme Elders. In his eyes, there was no need to drag everyone down. But at this moment, the central square began to fall silent. Countless disciples' gazes were filled with determination. Only his body would not move for 10,000 years. Chapter 196. At this moment, in the central square of the Langya Sacred Ground, hundreds of thousands of disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground stood there. When Tao Xian's words resounded in the void, no one moved their bodies. One by one, their bodies were straight and fixed on the spot like a mountain. Their eyes, they were extremely determined. Seeing this scene, even Tao Xian, who had always been calm, He could not help but feel a ripple in his heart. The performance of these disciples. He was really a little surprised. But in the next moment, something that shocked him even more happened. Bang! At this moment, all the disciples of the Langya sacred ground. At the same time, they all knelt on the ground. Even the true disciples did the same. At this moment, they looked as if they were facing death with equanimity. They faced the Holy Lord of Langya and the Grand Elders. They shouted loudly, "We swear to defend the dignity of the sacred ground and the reputation of the Holy Sun. We swear to defend the dignity of the sacred ground and the reputation of the Holy Sun. We swear to defend the dignity of the sacred ground and the reputation of the Holy Sun." At this moment, a vast and boundless voice resounded in the Langya sacred ground. It was like the beating of a war drum. It was like an oath. Everyone was roaring hysterically with all their might. Their voices completely resounded in this world. Even the clouds above the void were shaken. Facing this scene, Tao Xian and the Grand Elders, who had always been calm, their expressions could not help but change slightly. They did not expect the hundreds of thousands of disciples of the Langya sacred ground. They could actually be so united. They did not hesitate to use their lives to defend the Langya sacred ground. They defended the dignity of the Holy Son of Haotian. Such terrifying cohesion. Even though the Langya sacred ground had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years, it was also very rare. However, this was also reflected from the side. The Holy Son of Haotian had received the recognition of hundreds of thousands of Langya sacred ground. He had won the hearts of everyone. Following the hearts of the people was invincible. This also proved that Tao Xian had ignored everyone's objections back then. The decision to forcibly appoint Jun Haotian as the Holy Son of Haotian. Extremely wise. As the current Holy Lord of Langya. Seeing that the Langya disciples were so united, Tao Xian couldn't help but be overjoyed. He couldn't help but shout, "Good?" At this moment, Dao Yan's mind that had always been like an ancient well without ripples was really shaken. Back then, Tao Xian went from being a disciple of Langya to being the Holy Lord of Langya. During this period he had also experienced many hardships. These tribulations, it caused him to seal his mind and soul. He was indifferent to everything in the outside world. But for some reason, seeing the scene in front of me, Tao Xian actually felt his blood boil. As the Holy Lord of Langya, what was Tao Xian's lifelong pursuit? To lead the Langya sacred ground to greatness. To leave an immortal legacy for the Langya sacred ground. But all of this required an extremely important factor. That was cohesion. Now, the hundreds of thousands of disciples of the Langya sacred ground were united. Such a grand occasion. Other than the Langya sacred ground, who else could it be? The Langya sacred ground had reached such a level. As the sacred Lord, he naturally shared the glory. At this moment, Tao Xian changed from his usual indifference. He looked at all the disciples of the Langya sacred ground. In the next moment he shouted loudly, "Today let us fight to the end." Tao Xian used his vital essence. His voice was extremely loud and clear. It was as if a single spark had started a prairie fire, burning fiercely. Fight to the end. Fight to the end. Fight to the end. As Tao Xian spoke, countless disciples of the Langya also shouted loudly. It was like a tsunami. Among the crowd, Feng Xiaoyao and the rest of Jun Haotian's trusted subordinates. At this moment they had a determined look on their faces. At this moment they were already determined to fight to the death. Even if they died they would have no regrets. It seemed that the atmosphere had reached a climax. Tao Xian directly gave the order. Activate the defensive array. At this moment, Tao Xian's face was full of fighting spirit. I want to see how these 5 forces will destroy the Langya sacred ground. Then Tao Xian gave the order. The entire Langya sacred ground began to operate rapidly. Tao Xian's mysterious array seal emerged in the void. It united all the main peaks. The curtains of the great battle were about to begin. This battle. It was definitely going to be a bloodbath and it was hard to tell if they would survive. This point, all the disciples of the Langya sacred ground knew in their hearts. They were also prepared to sacrifice themselves for the sacred ground. Just like that, time passed quietly. Finally, the great battle was finally coming. At this moment, Tao Xian stood above the void. He looked into the distance with a calm gaze. Behind him, the 9 Grand Elders stood there. "They're here." Suddenly, one of the Grand Elders said. Afterward, everyone's gaze turned to the east. They saw that the void there was already covered by endless dark clouds at this moment. There was thunder and lightning interweaving. There was a sudden flash of divine light. There was a monstrous aura soaring to the sky. The aura there was incomparably huge, completely shaking the entire world. The vast and boundless aura directly shrouded the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Rumble. Soon the area shrouded by dark clouds quickly moved towards the Langia sacred ground. When they arrived at the Langia sacred ground, an incomparably loud roar sounded. Afterward, terrifying figures walked out of the dark clouds one after another. There were 5 figures in the lead. At this moment they did not hide their figures. Everyone recognized them. They were the Alcade Sacred Lord, the Azure Cloud Sacred Lord, the All-Heaven Sacred Lord, and the Fairy Fox King. As for the strongest demon King Jiao, he stood in the center. Behind them, battle flags fluttered in the wind and drums shook the sky. Right at this moment, there were also countless powerful auras hidden in the surroundings of the tourist sacred ground. These auras, naturally, they were the powerhouses from the various major forces of the Wuxian continent. At this moment, the 5 major forces joined forces to suppress the Langia sacred ground. Such a grand event naturally attracted the attention of countless powerhouses. Even the central region sent many powerhouses to watch the battle. At this moment, the top forces of the Wuxian continent were secretly observing. The curtains of a world-shaking battle had finally been drawn. The hundreds of thousands of disciples of the Langia sacred ground and the 5 major forces allied forces. They faced each other from afar. It seems that today, the Langia sacred ground is prepared to risk their lives to protect the holy son of Haotian who has fallen into the demon path. A moment later, Alcade's sacred master took the lead and stood out. He stood on the side of righteousness. He claimed that he was here for the holy son of Haotian who had fallen into the demon path. Humph, this is simply nonsense. You said that he has fallen into the demon path, so he has fallen into the demon path. Where is the evidence? That's right. How dare you spout nonsense without any evidence? Alcade's sacred master, as a sacred master, you are really not worthy of being a sacred master of the human race. After Alcade's sacred master spoke, Tao Xian had yet to speak. The few grand elders behind him could not help but speak up. At this moment, they did not care about Alcade's sacred master's status. They berated him loudly. At this moment, the battle was about to begin. They did not need to be polite with the other party. Humph, the holy son of Haotian has fallen into the demon path. This is already known to the world. As the sacred masters, would we fabricate the truth? That's right. The insignificant holy son of Haotian is not worthy of us mobilizing so many people. We are here to eliminate the demon. The holy son of Haotian has fallen into the demon path. It is the responsibility of everyone in the Wuxian continent to eliminate the demon path. All Heaven's sacred master, Qingyun's sacred master, and Master Fairy Fox continued to speak. They were mocking the grand elders of the Langia sacred ground. They no longer cared. They were still harping on the fact that Jun Haotian had fallen into the demon path. Of course, the experts who were watching the battle. His heart was clear about the whole story. The 5 forces had fabricated the story that the holy son of Haotian had fallen into the demon path. However, this was how the world worked. Whoever was more powerful. Whoever had the right to explain. Nonsense. This is all wishful thinking on your part. At this moment, Tao Xian said slowly, the Langia sacred ground will decide whether the holy son of Haotian has fallen into the demon path or not. You don't have to interfere. Similar to the few supreme elders, Dao Yan's words were similarly not courteous in the slightest. His words immediately caused the people from the 5 major forces to narrow their eyes. Tao Xian's attitude was the attitude of the Langia sacred ground. Alcade's sacred master did not expect this. He did not expect that the Langia sacred ground would defend the holy son of Haotian. It is not up to you to decide whether it is wishful thinking. Hand over the holy son of Haotian. Let us test if he has demonic nature in front of everyone. Demon King Jiao asked the Langia sacred ground to hand over Jun Haotian. What a joke. Since when did you demons have the right to point fingers at the holy son of the Langia sacred ground? Tao Xian's eyes shone brightly. There was even a surge of killing intent. So, you don't plan to hand over the holy son of Haotian? Demon King Jiao was furious. 4 dragon heads suddenly appeared behind him, and countless scales appeared on his body. Every scale shone with a golden luster. It looked extremely terrifying. How is it? Tao Xian took a step forward. The aura of the 5th stage of the immortal realm erupted. For a moment, the world shook violently. The mountains and rivers were shaking. Since that's the case, don't blame us. Demon King Jiao and the others walked out. Their auras were enough to detonate the heavens. They walked forward in unison and spoke directly. The human race's Langius sacred ground harbored the holy son of Haotian who had fallen into the demonic path. He has also fallen into the demonic path. From today onwards, the Langius sacred ground will be removed from the human race's sacred ground. A loud voice sounded. The entire world shook. Endless winds and clouds surged. For a moment, killing intent swept across. A world-shaking battle between the eastern wilderness sacred ground. It was on the verge of breaking out. Chapter 2. Immortal Artifact Suppression. A vast pressure swept out in the void, with Demon King Jiao leading the way. Everyone from the 5 major factions moved out at this moment. Streaks of terrifying auras emerged in the void. One by one they stood in the void. It displayed its supreme power. There were hundreds of Transcendence Realm experts. The aura on each of their bodies was extremely terrifying. In the next moment, everyone summoned their heaven and earth Dharma forms. Heaven and earth Dharma forms that were tens of thousands of feet tall stood between heaven and earth. They were like giant pillars that supported the sky. They surrounded the entire Langius sacred ground. Then, another 70 to 80 terrifying figures appeared. These people. They were even more terrifying than Transcendence Realm experts. Each of them was in existence at the 5th level of the immortal realm. Although they did not reveal their Dharma forms, they only revealed the true essence in their bodies. It was like a vast ocean resounding throughout the surrounding 10,000 miles. 70 to 80 experts at the 5th level of the immortal realm. Although they were all at the immortal longevity realm and the immortal undying realm. But the power of these people combined. It was enough to shake heaven and earth. As for Demon King Jiao, Demon King Fairy Fox, and the others, these were almost all existences at the immortal creation realm or above. They stood in the void, looking down on the entire Langius sacred ground. A moment later, Demon King Jiao, who stood in the void, slowly spoke. His killing intent was sharp. Kill? As soon as Demon King Jiao finished speaking, an extremely terrifying killing intent instantly swept between heaven and earth. Even the clouds in the 9th heaven were scattered by this force. Then, the experts of the 5 major factions directly attacked. All kinds of treasures were taken out one after another. In the void, true essence was vast and mighty. At this moment, heaven and earth seemed to be about to shatter. A series of shocking rumbles resounded. Outside the Langius sacred ground, hundreds of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers were shaking. Countless living beings prostrated and trembled under this force. At this moment, when the spectating experts saw this, they couldn't help but step back. They were afraid that they would be implicated. Once a battle of such a scale began, it would not care about the lives of others. Once involved, there was a 90% chance of survival. They had only come this time to scout the situation. They did not want to participate in this earth-shattering battle. Sacred Leader, are we really not participating in this battle? At this moment, thousands of miles away from the battle, the Jade Lake's Sacred Leader, Guyue Huang, looked at the distant battlefield. She could not help but reveal a trace of anxiety on her face. This time, the 5 major factions had joined forces to attack the Langius sacred ground. There were hundreds of primordial soul Dharma experts and 70 to 80 experts at the 5th level of the immortal realm. There was also a peerless expert like Demon King Jiao, who was already standing at the peak of the Wuxian continent. Even though the Langius sacred ground was a sacred ground of the human race and had a strong foundation, it was afraid that it would not be able to resist. Beside Guyue Huang stood a woman in a palace dress. It was the Jade Lake's Sacred Leader. The Jade Lake's Sacred Leader was a middle-aged woman. She was wearing a yellow palace dress and exuded a luxurious aura. From the aura that the Jade Lake's Sacred Leader exuded, she was definitely not weaker than the Alcade Sacred Leader and the others. Hearing Guyue Huang's words, the Jade Lake's Sacred Leader slowly shook her head. Yue Huang, we cannot participate in this battle. I know that you have a good relationship with the Holy Son of Hao Tian, but once we participate in a battle of such a scale, we cannot back out. The Jade Lake's Sacred Leader looked at the battle in the distance and considered her gains and losses. Moreover, each of the 5 major factions is not weaker than the Jade Lake's Sacred Ground. If we participate in this battle rashly, the Jade Lake's Sacred Ground will definitely suffer heavy losses. The Jade Lake's Sacred Leader naturally had her own difficulties in dealing with Guyue Huang's request. One had to know that as the Holy Lord of this generation, she did not represent herself. Guyue Huang did not represent herself. Once someone intervened, that would involve the entire Jade Lake's Sacred Ground. As a Sacred Leader, she had to focus on the bigger picture. She could not attack directly. Otherwise, the entire Jade Lake sacred ground would fall into a quagmire. She also knew. In this battle, the 5 major factions were determined to kill the Holy Son of Haotian. Perhaps the Langya sacred ground would not be destroyed. But the Holy Son of Haotian must die. Even she could not do anything about it. Hearing this, Guiyue Huang started to think. Yes. Once she intervened, she would have to fight against the 5 major factions. The Jade Lake sacred ground had tens of thousands of disciples. She did not care. But those people were innocent. So, she could only watch. Thinking of this, Guiyue Huang could not help but look at the horizon. She thought to herself, will he appear? Chapter 197. At this moment, Tao Xian saw that the other party had already made a move. There was no hesitation at all. Tao Xian saw that the other party had made a move. There was no hesitation at that moment. He directly struck a handprint into the void. The next moment, the Grand Elders standing behind him all disappeared. Formation rise. All of a sudden Dao Yen let out a harsh cry. As soon as his voice fell, a terrifying pressure suddenly swept through the entire Langya sacred ground. In the Langya sacred ground, 108 true disciples' main peaks slowly rose. A total of 108 beams of divine light shot into the void. Each divine light was thousands of feet wide, forming a light pillar. At this moment, all the light pillars reached the same height. At the same time, in the sky above the Langya sacred ground, a huge light shield appeared. This light shield directly enveloped the entire Langya sacred ground. It protected everyone in the Langya sacred ground. Boom. At this moment, the attacks of the 5 major forces followed. Terrifying vital essence vibrated in the void. The 5 major forces were even more powerful when they joined forces. Even the Langya disciples who were protected by the light shield at this moment. Looking at the terrifying scene outside, their faces were all pale. Such power was really too terrifying. One had to know that this was the power caused by hundreds of Dharma Laksana and dozens of immortal level 5 experts working together. Even a mountain range that spanned tens of thousands of miles would be shattered in front of this attack. However, what made everyone dumbfounded was that when this terrifying attack bombarded the light shield was completely destroyed. The light shield was actually undamaged. There wasn't even any fluctuation. This attack was like a stone sinking into the sea. It only caused a trace of ripples on the light shield. Then it disappeared. Haha, as expected of the Great Sect Protection Formation, its power is extraordinary. Of course, this is the Great Sect Protection Formation that the founder of Langya, the Lord Langya, personally set up back then. How can it be broken so easily? That's right, this formation can't be broken unless the Supreme is alive. Seeing this scene, countless Langya disciples immediately cheered. Originally, they were already prepared to die, but at this moment, seeing how powerful the Great Sect Protection Formation was, they couldn't help but be overjoyed. After all, if one could live, no one would want to die. Just as the Langya disciples had said, the Lord of Langya had personally set up the protective array of the Langya sacred ground. Although the Lord Langya wasn't a master of array formations, he was still able to do so. However, he was still a supreme martial artist. His strength and foundation were all there. A grand formation laid down by a supreme martial artist. Who in the world could break it? However, the Langya disciples did not notice. At this moment, the Holy Lord of Langya's brows were tightly furrowed, and his expression was very unpleasant. Although the Langya's guardian formation was terrifyingly powerful, it was still not enough. For the time being, it could protect them from any harm. But don't forget, the 5 allied forces before him were all top forces of the martial god continent. No force was weaker than the Langya sacred ground. Although the Langya sacred ground was a sacred ground of the human race, it had an extremely deep foundation. However, the foundations of these 5 forces were equally deep. Moreover, this protective array was set up by the Lord of Langya. However, the ones maintaining the protective array were the supreme elders of the Langya sacred ground. They couldn't unleash the full power of this protective array. This point. Naturally, the 5 forces were also very clear about it. Tao Xian knew very well in his heart. This protective array. It was just the beginning. As expected. In the next moment, streaks of terrifying power spread out in the void. Boom. A series of ear-piercing roars suddenly sounded in the entire void. At this moment, the expressions of all the experts who were watching the battle changed drastically. Outside the Langya sacred ground, the 5 forces had dozens of immortal secret realm experts. They were holding immortal spiritual artifacts, ancient immortal artifacts, and even immortal king artifacts as they walked out. A vast immortal aura descended from the sky above the Langya sacred ground. It bloomed with shocking brilliance, shining between heaven and earth. It formed a terrifying scene. A total of 12 immortal artifacts bloomed with supreme power as if they were going to isolate heaven and earth. They displayed a terrifying aura that could suppress the world. Boom. At this moment heaven and earth trembled. The stars were bright and dark. It was like the omen of an eternal calamity. Between heaven and earth, the wind and clouds were turbulent. Waves of terrifying immortal aura suddenly descended from various immortal artifacts. What was an immortal artifact? It was a rare treasure that could only be refined by peerless experts above the Emperor realm. Within the immortal artifacts, there was the unique pressure of an Emperor realm expert. This kind of pressure was much stronger than an immortal realm expert. In front of an immortal artifact, an equally precious artifact seemed extremely ordinary. They couldn't be compared at all. Now, the five forces had actually taken out a total of 12 immortal artifacts. They even took out the legendary immortal king artifacts. Tao Xian believed that this was not the true strength of the five forces. But even what was displayed now could be said to be heaven-defying. The supreme killing power displayed by these 12 immortal artifacts was extremely terrifying. Feeling this pressure, the countless experts who were watching the battle in the surroundings, they subconsciously retreated. The power of 12 immortal artifacts was something that even an immortal realm expert couldn't resist. Not to mention them. Do you think you're the only ones with immortal artifacts? Seeing this scene, Tao Xian's expression became even more unsightly. In the next moment he slowly took a step forward and waved at Langya Holy Land below. Then, a few resplendent streams of light surged into the light barrier below. These streams of light were naturally the immortal artifacts of Langya Holy Land. After these immortal artifacts were added to the sect protection array, the light barrier on the sect protection array was obviously strengthened by a lot. Immortal artifacts were indeed immortal artifacts. The array set up by a supreme being could also have an amplification effect. Haha, Tao Xian, you're just making a last-ditch effort. Seeing this, Demon King Jiao laughed wildly. In the next moment he directly ordered, "Attack!" Following Demon King Jiao's order, all the immortal realm powerhouses of the five forces erupted with powerful combat strength. Then, without hesitation, they poured the vast true essence in their bodies into the immortal artifacts in their hands. Buzz! In an instant, the power of the immortal artifacts swept through the void, and a series of rumbling sounds rang out. It was as if even the stars in the sky were affected. Attack! In the next moment, the powerhouses of the five forces took out their immortal artifacts and launched a peerless attack. Rumble! In the space, thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. Waves of terrifying light flashed, causing one's heart to tremble. Waves of aftershocks spread out, and the tens of thousands of feet tall mountains around Langya Holy Land were directly shattered. There were also all kinds of living beings who were directly killed before they could react. And these were only caused by the aftershocks of the great battle. Then, countless terrifying attacks that carried the power of the immortal artifacts directly blasted on the light barrier. Boom! In the next moment, a thunderous explosion rang out in Langya Holy Land. At this moment, the entire Langya Holy Land seemed to be trembling. The light barrier above Langya Holy Land began to flicker. It was no longer as calm as before. This extremely terrifying attack directly set off monstrous waves on the light barrier. Countless rays of Tao Xian's mysterious light intertwined in the void. It was even more dazzling than the sun in the void. Seeing this scene, the faces of the Langya disciples below turned pale. Although the Great Array was not broken at this moment, and they were still under the protection of the Great Array. However, they could clearly feel the supreme pressure that was emanating from it. In the face of that pressure, they felt as if they were facing the supreme immortal king. They could be annihilated by the supreme power at any time. Although the Great Array could defend against attacks, it could not resist the pressure. After a while, the void began to gradually stabilize. The defensive Great Array of Langya Holy Land was not damaged at all. Just like before, it was still protecting the Langya disciples inside. This Great Array was indeed set up by the Lord of Langya. A supreme being's work must be of high quality. Such a vast attack, no matter which immortal realm powerhouse faced it. That would be the tragic fate of being annihilated. Upon seeing this scene, the Langya's disciples below cheered once again. So what if it was an immortal artifact? So what if the five forces joined forces? They still could not break the Great Array guarding Langya Holy Land. This was the supreme power of the human Holy Land. However, the group of Langya Holy Land disciples did not notice. At this moment, Tao Xian's expression was even worse than before. Tao Xian slowly looked at the few supreme elders who were maintaining the great array in the void. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of one of the supreme elders' mouth, and his face was extremely pale. It was obvious that the supreme elder had been injured by the terrifying attack just now. Although it was not fatal as time passed, these supreme elders would definitely not be able to hold on. Tao Xian knew that the two attacks just now were just the first few probing attacks. At this moment they were not completely serious yet. How could the alliance of the five top forces only have this kind of means? In the next moment, Tao Xian's guess was confirmed. The strongest commander of the five top forces, Demon King Jiao, slowly walked out. Tao Xian, I'll give you one last chance. At this moment, Demon King Jiao stared at Tao Xian, his golden eyes flickering with endless coldness. Hand over Great Heaven's Holy Sun and let us do whatever we want with him. Or expel Great Heaven's Holy Sun from Langya Holy Land. At this moment, Demon King Jiao and the others did not know that Jun Haoyan was not in Langya Holy Land at all. In their opinion, the important thing was that Great Heaven's Holy Sun was no longer under the protection of Langya Holy Land. Then it would be easy for them to kill Great Heaven's Holy Sun. At this moment, Demon King Jiao gave Langya Holy Land a final warning. After this, the five top forces would no longer be probing. What welcomed the Langya disciples would be a storm-like attack from the five top forces. After this warning, the five top forces would go to war with all their might. Hearing Demon King Jiao's slightly threatening words, Tao Xian's expression did not change at all. He said coldly, Demon King Jiao, if you want to start a war, just come at me. You want me to hand over Great Heaven's Holy Sun? Dream on. Hearing Tao Xian's words, Demon King Jiao's eyes narrowed as he took a deep look at Tao Xian. A moment later, Demon King Jiao suddenly laughed. There was a bone-chilling coldness in his smile. Tao Xian, I gave you a chance. You chose this yourself. Faced with Tao Xian's repeated rejections, Demon King Jiao was enraged. A hint of anger rose in Demon King Jiao's heart, and his killing intent surged. In his opinion, the Langya Holy Land was stubborn. Since Tao Xian was determined to protect Great Heaven's Holy Sun, then he could only get rid of the Holy Lord of Langya and Tao Xian. When the time came, he would make the entire Langya Holy Land pay the price in blood. Thinking of this, Demon King Jiao looked behind him and said slowly, Everyone, let's do it. Behind Demon King Jiao, the Azure Cloud Sacred Leader, the All-Kate Sacred Leader, and the All-Heaven Sacred Leader stood upright. After hearing Demon King Jiao's words, the three human sacred leaders directly walked out. Suddenly, a monstrous pressure of heaven and earth swept through the entire void. The most eye-catching thing was that there was a huge black cauldron floating behind the All-Kate Sacred Lord. It was at least 50,000 kilograms in weight. The entire cauldron was black, and there were all kinds of mysterious patterns engraved on it. It looked extremely terrifying. Just as All-Kate's sacred leader summoned the black cauldron, an extremely terrifying wave of energy flowed in the void, and the entire world seemed to be imprisoned. The vast power swept across a radius of 1,000,000 miles. All living beings in this area were forced to prostrate themselves before the might of this supreme power. Even the demonic beasts that had just gained intelligence knelt on the ground. It was as if they were begging for forgiveness. At this moment, All-Kate's sacred leader stepped out and held the giant cauldron with both hands. The black cauldron was directly exposed to everyone's eyes. In an instant, all the clouds in the void dispersed. Even the stars in outer space were pushed away by that power and deviated from their original trajectories. The vast power descended. This was a power that belonged to a paragon. In All-Kate's sacred leader's hand. It was the supreme artifact, All-Kate Dragon Pattern Cauldron. It was also known as the All-Kate Cauldron. It was the All-Kate Sacred Ground's first paragon, the All-Kate Sacred Ground's first paragon, and the All-Kate Cauldron that Jun Haoyan had used to hunt down the All-Kate Holy Sun. It was just a replica. So they still used a supreme artifact. The five factions are so arrogant and powerful. They directly used a supreme artifact. This will pose a great threat to the eastern wilderness. No, with the Langya Sacred Ground's protective array, even if they use a supreme artifact, it won't have a direct impact on the eastern wilderness. A powerful figure spoke. He wasn't very worried. After all, the person controlling the supreme artifact was the All-Kate Sacred Leader. He wasn't the All-Kate Sacred Ground. But even so, the people from the major factions all put up a defense. Even a trace of the supreme artifact's power. It could crush countless living beings. At this moment, a smile appeared on the Alkaid sacred leader's face. Back then, Tao Xian used a supreme artifact to threaten the Alkaid sacred ground. Did you think that there would be a moment like this? As soon as he finished speaking, the Alkaid sacred leader didn't hesitate anymore. He took a deep breath and injected his vast true essence into the supreme artifact, Alkaid Cauldron. In the next moment, the sky suddenly changed color, and the sky instantly darkened. An invincible aura enveloped the land. He held the Alkaid Cauldron in his hand. At this moment, the Alkaid sacred leader's true essence was at the immortal stage 5. The supreme artifact began to awaken. At this moment, the void rumbled and the world couldn't suppress the aura anymore. At this moment, the disciple who was originally guarding the Langya sacred ground also ran over. Endless ripples appeared on the light barrier protecting the Langya sacred ground. It was like a bubble that could burst at any time. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.